And we're live. Welcome everybody to Distilling 101 Q&A, where you bring your questions and hopefully we'll have answers. Haven't heard from old Clint yet, so not sure what he's up to. I guess that means he's pretty busy right now. Hoping everybody's having a good week. Y'all know the drill. I got to, there's my YouTube notification. Yep, good deal. So if y'all want to follow this closely, Facebook's a great place to watch it and all, but um, YouTube is a great place. It has a good notification system, so it reminds you. It'll send you that little reminder, that little tone I just got on the phone, little pop up that says we just went live. So I do want to, at the beginning, I got to share these links, but also while I'm sharing them, there was got some questions about this past Saturday. We got into a little bit of science talking about diastatic power and using the malts in the grain to do your conversion. So I'll definitely go over that at the beginning and try to go back over that. And I did use a fairly complex grain bill that a lot of people didn't understand, so I'm going to simplify it. And I'm going to do, a 10-gallon, basically a 10-gallon run, which is common and it's easy to scale up, right? So I'm going to do that. Let's see, there we go. So let me get these links shared and we will jump into that. I also had some questions about malting. So later on, after I finish going over talking, again about diastatic power and using malts and how to calculate that, we'll jump into actually doing some malting for those that want to try their hand at malting. Barley for a lot of people is pretty tough to get for me. And a lot of people generally buy their barley already malted because of its difficulty to obtain. But a lot of people will also want to learn to malt like wheat, rye. So those are going to be pretty similar, right? They're going to have pretty much the same process as the barley. So we'll go over it and talk a little bit about that later. I want to make sure that the person asking the questions has a chance to get here. They were kind of worried about not being able to get in time to catch it at 8, kind of a work thing. So we're going to put that off until later in the chat, and then we'll talk about that. But first, let me get these links out. I can't see any comments that y'all are making, so apologize. I gotta get these shared, and then we'll get into talking about diastatic and a little bit more of that as I answer some questions about other things as well. So bear with me, and we will get into that. I'm definitely going to simplify it though for those. I guess with that 75 pound and several different malts, and some were diastatic, some weren't. It was kind of confusing for some, and I can understand how that was. I probably should have done a more simpler one, but the actual individual that asked the question, that was his grain bill, so I wanted to address it directly. So it was a question that I got to answer, right? So don't fault me for that. Just trying to help. So I definitely will try to do a more simple, more typical grain bill, and then we'll go over that and talk about how to calculate it. It's very easy. Once you do it a few times, you won't need calculators. But if you do get a complex grain bill like that, there are Big Easy's got an app out that's got calculators built into it. And also, online you can pull them up. If you just do a Google search for grain calculators, you'll find, some for that as well. But if you go to the DIY Shine and Steel Bidding page, I featured Big Easy's app on the very top. So when you go into the group, it's going to be at the very top, one of the first things you see. download that app, check it out. It's got a lot of great info on it. He's going to continuously work on that and build it up. I'm going to add recipes and a lot of other good stuff. So definitely something needed, and good to see Big Easy doing something like that. He's a pretty good fella, pretty sharp tack too. You know, you think them old boys don't have it going on, man. They know computers and programming, and it's kind of what they did before they got into this. They worked on computers and salvaged them and did a lot of stuff like that. So they know what's going on. Him and Phil both. So give me just a chance to get a few more of these shares. Somehow difficult me. I don't know. I can't find them. You'd think that'd be easy to find in this list. But we'll see how many I can share. Man, here we go. There it is. Tonight, let's see if it's more than usual. Let's see, a few more, and then it'll probably stop me. I have noticed in some of these other groups that I share too that are not part of the traditional network, and some of them are fairly large. I'm also going to start reaching out to a friend of mine who admins in some really large groups, and hopefully bring some more people in from that as well. I'm sure they have a lot of questions, you know, and want to be able to address those as well. Actually, I used to admin in a lot of those groups before me and the former creator had a little falling out. But let me get a few more of these shared till it stops me. Oh no. So there, geez. Didn't even get as many as usual. Dang. I guess when you share one and you exit and you because you're not sure if it's right and you go back, that they're still counting that. So Facebook, you need to do better. All right, so I didn't get near as many shared as I wanted to right initially, but we'll get the other half at the halfway mark. So somebody try to remind me. Okay, now I'm able to see chat. What's going on, Curtis? Good to see you, brother. Here's old Clint. I wasn't sure if you'd be with us, brother. What's going on, Henry? Good to see you. There's old C Shine. What's up, brother? Old Patty ain't tardy. What's going on, Joe? So what are you doing, Clint? You working tonight, just taking a break, or what's going on? What's going on, Frank? Definitely attenuate well. We like that attenuation. We sure do, brother. There's Tor's back. How's it going, brother? Or sister? I think that's a lady. Last time, I think I think last time I might have said brother, and she's like, might be a girl. I think that's a lady. If I'm mistaken, let me know. But I'm thinking Tora is a girl. And I like fish. I used to have a bunch of fish too. Running all right, the smash up mash. Good deal, good deal. Good to see you in here. We were just talking earlier about malting. So let me finish talking about the diastatic, and then we'll jump into malting since you're here. Yeah, it'll be this weekend. Yeah, so we're having it tonight, but not this weekend. Saturday is farm to bottle. So hopefully everybody that can come out there will come out there. I'm going to be doing a Q&A there on site Friday night and probably maybe Saturday night as well. I'll probably be joined by some other individuals that are very knowledgeable, and we're going to sit down, and I think Woody and who else? Wayne maybe, and I'm not sure who all. Jason Bartoluz, yes, Jason and Woody. So it should be pretty good. What's going on, Gene? It's Tuesday, brother. So we won't be here Saturday for those, and I'll mention again towards the end. Taking a break. All right, good, good. All right, we got a question here. We got a 13-gallon pot. I'm about to make my first batch. How much do I throw away at first? Generally speaking, it will definitely vary. So I wish there was a magic number that you could just immediately say 50 milliliters for every gallon, or or something like that, which is kind of a thing. But it will vary. So brandies are going to have more than grain. Uh, you know, grain's going to have more than sugar shine. So it really depends on what you're distilling to how much heads and fours you're going to have. But a 50 milliliters per gallon has been a pretty standard, I guess, number for people that are just learning. It will vary. So you definitely need to learn how to smell, taste, and feel the heads, right? So you need to be able to smell that, that acetone, that fingernail polish kind of smell. And a lot of times when you run your fingers under the drip, you can, a lot of people like to push their hands and smell it, and kind of if it burns your eyes a little bit, you still got some in there, and visualize it. Yes, sister wife lady. All right, all right. I was thinking so. Yeah, I used to keep fish as well. But anyway, so 50 milliliters per gallon generally will get you in the ballpark ish, but you're still going to need to smell. So 50 milliliters prior to that, we know we're just going to set that aside. But 50 milliliters to 70 milliliters per gallon, we're going to have to start smelling and learning how to differentiate fours when it starts, and heads, and when it starts to run into the hearts, right? But that will give you a pretty good idea when to start collecting smaller jars, right? So we're going to go ahead and collect up to 50 milliliters per gallon. If you got a big, huge jar that you calculate, you got 13 gallons, 13 times 50 is 80, or is it 65? 13 times 50, I think it's 65. Yeah, 65. So you're going to do 650 milliliters. And then after that, you can just set that to the side. And after that, we're going to start collecting in smaller jars, and even half a jar, until we're for sure into our hearts. And then we can collect into a large jar again until we know that we're starting to smell that cardboard, oily, damp, musty odor. You'll know it when you smell it. And then we know we're in the tails, right? And you'll also see the proof start to drop, pretty well. So that'll give you an indication that you're starting to get into the tails. And that's when you just put it in a large jar again and just try to collect all your tails that you can, as far as you can, because that's just going to be thrown into the next mash right before you run it. And you'll be able to get a lot of that ethanol out of that without any of that bad musty odor carrying over. That doesn't carry over well at all. Acetone, however, and a lot of the headsy stuff, it can. It's a lot more difficult to separate. It's very volatile, right along with the ethanol, very close to ethanol. Whereas a lot of your tails are, when you start getting lower in proof like that, they're kind of more separated from the ethanol, and that's another reason why ethanol is pretty easy to separate from them when you run them a second time, or put them in your thumper on your next run, and it'll definitely increase your yield, and you won't get all that bad smell. A lot of people are afraid that that's going to carry over, but it's not going to. But 50 milliliters will get you in the ballpark, and it'll get you close to where you need to be. But you really need to start smelling things at 40 milliliters, per gallon. 13 gallons, 40, 62, I guess. 40, my math. I used to be able to do it right off my head, but 40 times 13, yeah, 520. So 520, start paying more attention up to 650. Then you're going to know that you're pretty much past that, and you'll learn to do that. And the smell. I had corn on the cob for dinner. Got a little piece of the corn. Guess I should have flossed before this, but love me some corn. I don't just like it in my liquor. I love me some good sweet corn. What's going on, Scott? Good to see you, brother. And our other Scott, what's up? Gonna make some muscadine wine or moonshine. Muscadine shine or wine. Both are awesome. Yeah, that's for me too. A lot of people will save the heads and they'll mix it with the tails and they'll do an all faints run. For me, I just, I'm not that desperate for alcohol. I'll just put it bluntly that way. Um, it does work, and some people, have done fine things mixing it with the tails and rerunning it and making cuts again and cutting them out. But you're putting heads on heads, and when you do that, you're kind of concentrating, especially four shots if you're keeping those as well. So you definitely need to learn to make cuts if you're going to keep compounding those like that, because you continuously save those. When you make that second run, you save them again, make that third run, save them again. Once you do that so many times, the next run is just going to be pure four shots, right? And it's not going to be good. That's how a lot of people, greedy, a lot of these third world countries will save hearts and tails and rerun them and rerun them and rerun them and until they basically just concentrate those fours so much that, it's almost pure methanol, but enough parts per million where it'll do liver, body function damage or body organ damage and maim or kill people. You see it in the news every once in a while. But usually third world countries. I think last time I read it was a few years ago in India. Something similar that happened. They kept saving that brandy, um, fours and heads, and kept rerunning them, trying to squeeze the ethanol out of them. And pretty soon it was just pure methanol. And they just, well, this is just some shit. We'll just give this to some of the poor and just to kind of sell this cheap. And a lot of people in the community died. It's pretty sad. What's going on, Cave Daddy? Good to see you, brother. It's corn. It ain't no pubes or beard hair. Yeah, beard hair. No, no. That's funny. Hello, Miss Jess. How you doing, sweetheart? Hope you're doing well. Yep, definitely. It's not good. It's definitely no bueno. That's one of the reasons I just don't, especially brandies. If you're going to run, maybe the fours from a sugar run once, that's fine, or from a grain mash, that's fine. But from brandy runs, please don't, because it's got more in it, and it's just not worth it. For me, like I said earlier, it's great for fire starter, for cleaners. There's lots of purposes. Grass killer. You can spray it on bugs and it pretty much mess them up. It's got a lot of uses, but drinking it one of them for me. Uh, but there are lots of uses. Maybe we'll sit down one time and just think all the different things. I know clean a metal before you do any welding or something like that. It's good for that. Glass cleaner. Put a little food coloring in it. Put it in a fantastic jar, and boom, nobody know. Except they smell it. It's like, damn, that doesn't smell like fantastic. Or what's the glass cleaner? Uh, I can't even think of it. But yeah, it's put a little blue food coloring in it and make it look like it. Hello, Miss Laura. It's funny when you watch on the phone, it'll say so and so's watching, but it doesn't tell me on here. I guess I should probably keep a look at it. It is reading some messages there. Sorry, admin messages. It's good to drink spirits above 130. Is it good? No, it's not. It's really not. It's tough on the liver. It's really tough on your body. I've drank 140 for a while, and it's hard on me, and that's probably why I've been feeling bad, and why the doctors tell me to cut back. So, um, 130 and above is pretty hard on you. It's thing about alcohol. It's not just what it does to your liver. It's when it's hygroscopic, HYGRO, hygroscopic. So anything it touches, I talk about too, when you leave liquor out, how it starts even, pure, like when you do vodka, you got 196 proof, right? And you leave it in that open jar, it'll start sucking moisture right out of the air, and it literally draws moisture into itself because alcohol is hygroscopic, kind of like a desiccant bag that you put in stuff to attract the moisture away from the metals so it won't rust. So when it hits your skin and stuff, it starts sucking moisture out of your skin. That's why when you drink like Pure Grain or something, you feel parched. It's like, it's literally parching your skin. It's drawing all the moisture out of your skin and your throat and stuff. That's why you get that parched feeling, and it's not good for you. It's proof it down to 100, 120, barrel entry, 125, with a good whiskey or bourbon or something that's smooth. But 130 above it's not a good idea. Absolutely great for glass, fiberglass. Yeah. Even paint, it's kind of a paint thinner, right? Acetone. But you could put some perfume in it and give it to your wife, and she can use it on her fingernails. It's got a lot of good uses. It's just drinking ain't one of them. Windex. That's what I was trying to think of, man. My mind, I tell you what, getting old, just simple little words like that. But yeah, Windex, fantastic Windex. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. But yeah, that high proof, it's not good for you. It's not really. It's that concentrated alcohol in your liver is tough. Best drink it at a 100 120. Is upper. Best to drink it mixed if you can stand it. I'm a straight liquor kind of guy, so I just let my liver quiver. Are the Viver stainless steels online okay to use? They're cheap, and that's why I ordered. It's my first time making it, trying to self tech myself. Absolutely. Hopefully, you watched this and got the football steel. I pray that you got this instead of the 3 pot. If you got the 3 pot, it's not the end of the world, but it's going to require some work right off the bat. So hopefully, you got this one right. I'm hoping you got this one. This is what we call the football steel, and that one is a really great way to start. The other one's not bad. I mean, it's not the end of the world if you got the 3 pot. It's just this is the 3 pot here. This is the 3 pot. The problem with this is several things. The lines coming off this are too small. The puke pot is not really a true thumper. It's too small to be a thumper. So it ends up just being a little puke pot or slobber box. I remembered. We always called it a puke pot. And then the flex lines coming off of it are, not the best either, but they're okay. The gaskets that are in the top, that these, not the main gasket for the main seal, it's okay. Silicone gasket, but these smaller PTFE plastic, they're not, I don't even think they're right true PTFE, because they're very brittle and they break easily. So it's the one right underneath that copper, where the copper goes into the top of that pot, and where some of these others, but basically that one is going to go out on you pretty quickly. Those break very easily, so you're going to have to get a replacement type. You can get those from the hardware store. It's not a big deal, but that's work you're going to have to do. I would increase the size of the line, and the condenser is way undersized, and the pot's very small. The inlet and outlet is the same size. I don't know why they put a valve on the top. You never want to regulate the flow coming out. You want it to come out as fast as it can. You want to regulate the flow going in so it doesn't go in too fast, right, and overflow. Which is why you should have a larger exit than entrance. That way you can increase the flow beyond the capacity of the size of the line that's feeding in, right? So you can drain faster, and you can probably do better at condensing and maintain temperatures better. But you're going to need to take an old water bottle or an old Gatorade jug, fill it with water, freeze it, and set it right in the middle of that when you first use it, until you're able to, and throw ice water in there, cold, which is something that's tough to keep up with. But it's yeah, definitely move the tops off the pot. Good point. Yeah, you definitely don't want them sitting up on the top. The puke pot's okay. That'll help keep it, warm. And you want your thumper to stay kind of warm. That way it works quicker the next, and you don't have to take the time for the steam to actually heat it up. It's okay up there. But you definitely don't want your condenser up there. It's horrible. It's the worst place for your condenser to be, because you want to maintain the coolness in that, and it's not going to be cool sitting on top of a hot boiler. Right? So you definitely want to plumb that away. And you can use the flex lines that are shown here to, move the thumper away, and then move the condenser away a little further. Also, you're going to want to increase the size of this condenser. And that's where, a lot of these guys in our community, Phil, Billy, and a bunch of others, make a lot of parts to go onto these, because, immediately when they started selling millions of these, there was an immediate need for parts, right? And upgrades. You can also use let me show a picture one of our viewers sent in. Let's see, let me get rid of this. And this is how he modified his. I'm not going to name any names to protect the innocent. Maybe not so innocent. But let me find the picture. It's fairly new. But it might be on my phone. It might be on my phone. Let me go all files, and it might be better. It may be might be on my phone. But they used a bulkhead fitting in the top of daggone, I bet that is on my phone. But they used a bulkhead fitting to go on top of it, similar to what I showed you on the milk can this past. Oh no, here it is. Cool. So, I've got some chat, but this is and it went, oh, that's showing. But here is bulkhead fitting going through the top of one of those pots. See? So he just basically shut that one off with a valve that went to the original. You can see the difference in size too. Let me take the chat away. You can see, let me take that away. So you can see the little brass fitting on top of there. That's the size of the line that used to come off these, right? Now look at the 2-inch coming off there now. See a huge difference, man. I mean, it's just 75 times larger than that, 1/2-inch or 3/8-inch line coming off this pot. So it's going to be able to breathe a lot better. It's going to run a little faster, and it's going to run much, much better. So just a bulkhead fitting on one of those pots, and a spool and one of these columns like what we show, or good shotgun condenser like this, and boom, you're definitely far, far, far improved. And that's a great thing to do with one of these 3 pots. If you get it, like I say, it's not the end of the world, but you are going to have to do a little bit of work. Now let's see what your answer is after I went into that major diatribe. Hopefully you got the football still. It's going to be very absolutely great for even your charcoal briquettes. You can use it to help start those for your barbecues, and they're great for a lot of things. Just drinking ain't one of them, but absolutely. See, we share some pretty good ideas. It's an awesome idea, Tex. But it is an inexpensive way into a decent sized pot. It's a 13-gallon stainless pot with a good gasket on top. It's just a little bit lacking in a lot of the other areas. So, thank you. But it's a good start. It's especially since you got 13. That's awesome that you got a 13-gallon one. That's good. I think you said you got your 13. So that's good. You got a decent sized one. So a 13-gallon pot for a little over $100 and change, pretty good deal, right? For one that's got, the gasket and everything ready to go, the clamps on top. Make sure that you get the gasket put in the lid correctly. A lot of people don't know. They just think that it's just supposed to sit on the top and you clamp the lid down on it. It's small for the lid, so you'll have to stretch it to fit it into the lid. The larger, wider part goes to the inside of the rim, and the smaller part will go to the outside of the rim, right? So it goes from large to small. Um, and they don't give you much instructions. That's one of the things that they're kind of lacking. So, um, going on, Spencer? Good to see you, brother. So, Scott, which one did you get, brother? Let's see. Yeah, the Brita charcoal filters are fine. Okay, what's my thought? Me leaving jars open to let volatiles evaporate. My thoughts that maybe you run too hard stall. Well, you're always going to get, even though no matter how you run, you're always going to get heads throughout your run. They've done, the gas chromatography and all this, scientific methods to know exactly what compounds are present in fours, hearts, and tails. And they're finding that there's heads all the way through it, right? And a little bit of fours, even, a little bit of methanol all the way through it. Not enough to hurt you, but there is a few parts per million there. But even more so of the heads. So they found that, it's all the way across. They do tend to evaporate more readily. So if you leave a jar open, and I had a friend that I talked with, and he left his jars open for like a week, and half his alcohol was evaporated. No, we don't want you to leave it open that long. Just for a short period of time, like for 12 hours up to 24 hours. Some people do 48. Keep an eye on it. Ethanol is going to evaporate too. But for 12-hour period, just put a little thin layer of cheesecloth over it. Just keep bugs and fruit flies from flying in. They love the smell of it. And keep the critters out and keep dust out. If you have a dusty place, if it's in a, shine shack, they tend to get a little dusty. So, it'll help keep a lot of the dust out, and it allows it to respire. It'll breathe, and a lot of those volatiles will evaporate off, and you'll get rid of a little bit more that way. Not all, but you'll get rid of some. It'll help smooth it out. And then, of course, just close your jar up and let it sit for a month or three, and let some of those estrify, right? Some of those esters in there will soon start to estrify. And you'll notice that it doesn't have that fingernail polish smell anymore, slight, especially right there where the heads and hearts kind of meet. And you'll notice that goes away, and you start getting some florals and some, fruity notes. And that's just due to esterification. So that's esters and acids combining to create polyphenols and flavonoids and a lot of different fruity notes, and it'll definitely help. Question: when clarifying and straining a fruit or berry bounce, what type of filtering? First, I would just use mechanical. Coffee filters, they don't hold up long. If you've got a good size funnel, fold them in a kind of a triangle and put them in that funnel, and just fill the funnel up, walk away, come back, fill the funnel up, walk away. I know but once they get, filled up, it is slow. You can use other cloth. You can use just regular cotton if it's clean, and it'll probably go through the cotton a little quicker, or cheesecloth, that'll work as well. But if you want to, you can use that's kind of mechanical filtration. But if you use a Brita, that's mechanical and a little bit chemical. So sometimes people will feel that you're going to lose a little bit of flavors, and you can lose some of your flavors by running it through a Brita, but that'll definitely take everything out for sure. Yeah, that's what we called it, the slobber pot, slobber box, or puke pot. Yeah. Yeah, leaving the jar open will help, but just don't leave it for a week. Just 12 hours, should be plenty. Right, just anything cotton. Just don't use your wife's pantyhose like Clint does. I don't like that nylon and all that rayon, polyesters. Nah. Clint likes using his old ladies. Or maybe they're his pantyhose. Oh, I shouldn't say that. I love my brother Clint. Did Dolly die today? Holy shit. I had no idea. Man. I bet Danielle's torn up. Danielle's part of the moonshine community. I don't know if y'all know her, ever met her, but great lady, and she's part of the shine community. I know she is torn up. I think it's her. Dolly was her aunt, so it's Dolly's niece. Yeah, I hate to hear that. Yeah, I liked old Dolly. She was a character, good person. A philanthropist. She gave a lot. She did a lot for people. Yeah, I hate to hear that. Prayers going up for her family. That's what we're here for, Miss Jess. Yeah, the lightest and the most volatile, which are the fours and the heads, they do the first. They evaporate the first. And the same, when you're doing a fractional distillation, that's why we kind of remove a lot of the first, is because a lot of times they are in a higher percentage, they're the first to come off. But because of azeotropes, we do still find them all the way through, right? They bond with the other chemicals, the ethanol and the water and other things, because they're azeotropic. So we can't just in a pot still separate them completely out like fractional distillation. That's a lot bigger, still a lot more expensive setup, and really not practical for hobby distillers to have. Probably tens and tens of thousands of dollars to have a simple one, hundreds of thousands to have, an average one that a lot of these distilleries use. So fractional distillation is awesome. It's basically a big, huge column. And at the very top, they've got an output that pretty much produces heads and fours. Towards the middle is where your hearts will come out, and towards the bottom is where your tails and stuff will be, because as it goes up the column, the lighter, more volatiles go to the top. The hearts kind of tend to, and there's more than just three outputs. There's multiple outputs, and they can kind of pull any combination of it all the way down, but they can separate it inside the column like that. It's called fractional distillation. Don't even try to do it on a home pot with a small column. It's just not going to work well for you. I will say that this football still is called a rectification head. You can see the little port in the top that's used to allow the four shots and heads to not evaporate out, but you put a tube on that and run it to a separate pot with water in it, and let those gases go through the water and vapors go through the water and kind of condense in the water. And it's supposed to remove a lot of the heads and stuff. Great idea, but not really large enough to be practical. The little valve in the bottom of the football head is for the tails that fall and condense a lot of the water, and tails will end up there puddling. Probably a good idea to every once in a while, if you had this head and you use it often, to put you a small jar underneath there, and every once in a while just drain that off, so you don't have your hearts bubbling through some tails that are in the bottom of that, right? But that's called a rectification head, and that's a little bit different than fractional distillation, but similar concept. But in a cap that size, and an output that small, more thought than function, I'm afraid. That's all right, man. It's not the end of the world. I mean, like I said, boom, with another $100, $150, you can have a nice little column like that coming off. Let me show you a column that works real well. And I'll show you what was sent to us last week. And this is for a milk can, but you can use the same thing for your Everett pot, right? It's the same. So it's just a different steel, but you can do this. Here's this is the bulkhead fitting, right? So this inch and a half, get the 2 inch. I just showed this for a picture, and it's $16. I think the 2 inch is $1.50 more, $17.50, about $1 more. So it's not that much. Go two. Two is much more common in the hobby, and that just happens to be what this little column right here. So with this column right here, you can eliminate that first spool that you see the cutaway showing the copper mesh inside of that. You can take that away and just go into the sight glass and go into a smaller spool, and then elbow and out through the shotgun condenser to get a pretty simple, straight without a column, no reflux, any of that, and run it pretty much a pot still mode. If you want to get some reflux, you can use that large spool at the bottom there with the cutaway showing the copper mesh, have the copper mesh in there. And the sight glass is great because it'll show you any puking. So I like that to sit on top, especially right coming out of the pot. That way you can see if it's spitting a lot of, puke out, that you can slow it down if you're getting a lot of puking, so that helps. You can put it higher up the column to see if you're getting puking. Actually, you can buy a couple of these. It's a great value for the parts you get from it. You're not going to buy a spool that size and then a sight glass and then a deflegmator and then an elbow with a thermometer, which you don't need, and another elbow, and then a large shotgun condenser stainless with a drip connection. You're not going to, those are generally $125 to $50. To buy those parts separately is going to cost you over $200, well over $200. So it's a great value to buy these whole. You can set that right on top of your pot with that bulkhead fitting. And let me show a picture of the milk can that somebody was asking about last week. I thought it was a great idea that they've got going on. They found a milk can stainless, pretty good deal on it. And but this right here is basically what you're going to do with your pot. You're going to put that bulkhead fitting. You can put it on the side there. This has a little handle on the top. If your lid doesn't have that handle and has a little indentation there, you can put it in the center. But if it does have that or some obstruction, you can put it anywhere you want to, as long as it's not on the ridge, right? You want to have, you don't want to put it where there's a fold or a bend on that. And you can see on the lid there that it's got some indentations where it's raised up a little bit. So just drill a hole and put that where you won't have to deal with that, and you'll be fine. And you'll eliminate the slobber box, puke pot, and the undersized, condenser. You can just put those away. You probably won't ever need those again. Wouldn't get rid of them. Maybe they'll find some use. So if you get a little teeny tiny steel or something to run small runs, maybe something like a size of a coffee pot or something, a 1 gallon or 2 gallon steel, they'd probably work okay for that, but definitely not going to be functional for your 13. Yeah, prayers going up for Dolly. That's horrible. I hate to hear that. What's going on, old Filipera? I'm going to call you Felipe. Well, I mean, you don't have to if you can. The football is going to be a little bit more expensive. I recommend going to the 15 or the 18 and a half. They're like $230. If you wait until Black Friday or something like that, you're going to get a really good deal on it. If not, you can, all's not lost. Basically, what you're getting with the football steel is a ferrule that's already built into it. So that's the big advantage. So for $17, you can put a ferrule in the top of this one and still be in it cheaper than what your football steel is going to cost. But you're not going to get the head and the condenser, that come with it. But a lot of people don't use those anyway. When they get those pots, they start running columns and other things off of it. You can get copper caps to put on there, and horse heads and other things to use. So all's not lost. I mean, if you can send it back and get one, that's fine. It's going to be probably about, for a 13, it's probably going to be close to 200. For an 18 and a half, is going to be close to 250. So just for $50 more, you can, get 5 more gallons of volume. But if you don't want to run that much each time, it's not a whole lot. Still way underneath the maximum size that's recognized as hobbyist, which is 30, some say 50. Anything above that's more of a craft distilling. But I've seen craft distilleries, legal craft distilleries, running on 30, 40 gallon pots. So, but yeah, the footballs, it's very convenient because it's got the tri clamp built into the top. So that gives you a leg up, and it's something you're not going to have to work on. You're not going to have to buy a bulkhead fitting and do all that for. Kind of ready to rock, straight out of the box. You want to clean it, very, very well. Use hot water, Dawn, and I mean, use a lot of elbow grease to clean the inside of that pot, because there are manufacturing oils in there. So clean it out real good. And you're going to run, a good hot bath, run some water through, steam it out real good. And that'll get most of the manufacturing oils out. You're not going to need to do vinegar and sacrificial runs because you don't have any copper and flux involved. But I would definitely run some hot water through it for a few hours. You don't have to run your condenser. You don't want to run it. You want to steam it all the way through. That'll clean your condenser out, shotgun condenser, whatever, or in this case, if you get the football steel, you'll clean that cap out and the canister condenser. So, but yeah, run those out real clean. And if you want to do a sacrificial run with alcohol, because some of those manufacturing oils may not be, scrubbed out from the Dawn, wouldn't be a bad idea. It's not a have to, but is it wise to? I definitely would. I did mine. And I will say I ran just boiling water through mine and steamed it out real good. And I got a white cloth and just rubbed the inside of that pot real good, the lid and what I could, and some of those spools. And I was still getting gray off some of that. So that's just rubbing compounds and manufacturing oils that were still there even after a boiling water run. So alcohol may help remove a lot of those, because water and Dawn may not be the right solvent to depolarize and break those down. Alcohol definitely might be the trick. And so if you have heads, you don't, it's your first time running. So, but if you could get some heads or had some heads and you get a new steel, running heads through it, proof it down, run it through, that's fine. It's running alcohol through there. It's cleaning it out. That alcohol will clean it. I recommend taking a rag and getting just isopropyl alcohol. People say, oh, isopropyl alcohol, that's poisonous. You put it on your cuts, directly on your skin all the time, right? It's getting into your skin, absorbing through cuts. It's getting directly in your bloodstream by pouring it on cuts. It's not that bad. Don't drink it. But when you're scrubbing with it, it's something that's going to evaporate and it's not going to leave any residue behind that's going to hurt you. But it will help remove a lot of those oils if you don't run a sacrificial run. Yeah, you'd probably have to run hot water through them to dissolve a lot of that and keep them clean. I just use coffee filters and cheesecloths whenever I, need to. Coffee filters are expensive though. I mean, you could use paper towels and napkins, get a good quality one, and they'll hold up for a while. But again, like Clint said, just any cotton, you can cut just circle pieces of cotton, fold it into a triangle, fold it over and over again, make a little cone out of it, and set it right down in a funnel, and that'll work pretty well. Yeah, it's not pretty. I don't mind the look of it. I've looking at it for its functionality, it starts looking better. Once you realize you're not going to have to work on it, and you don't have the thumper. So that's something you can add later, and it's something that's really an intermediate towards advanced type tool anyway, and it's really not a good idea for beginners to try to get into the thumper right off the bat. But the one that comes with that 3-pot's way undersized anyway, so it's not going to be helping you much. But it does help with puking over. So Vever didn't have the foot bone. I can say that every Black Friday they put those on sale, pretty good sale. If you can wait, be awesome. If not, get that 13 and get you the bulkhead fitting and be ready to go. Also, if you notice on this one, it needed a little extra support. So you're definitely going to have to provide some sort of support, whether you run a hook to the ceiling and a wire down like I have to do because I have such a massive configuration on top of mine. But if you notice, this one has a little board supporting it. And that's all you need really, is just to keep it from tipping over and bending your lid. That'll work fine. If you could put a little U on the top so it doesn't slip around and it's against the edge of the lid, that'll work perfectly for that size. But if you start getting pretty complex, a lot of these spools aren't too bad, but the elbows and a lot of these parts are pretty thick. They're designed for like 300 psi, and they're designed for a lot of different uses other than what we use them for. A lot of industry uses them, so they're designed for a lot higher pressure than what we use. We use about 3 to 5, 7 psi max. If you have a lot of thumpers and infusion jars, maybe but these are made for quite a bit more than that. So they're really, really heavy duty. I think that there's definitely a need for a lighter weight, cheaper version. I'm sure there's probably some exhaust pipe company that you could buy some stainless exhaust from and weld these, ferrules to it and get a lighter product close to what we need. But, these are pretty heavy duty. So they do have some weight. So, supporting it like that, definitely make sure you get a little support for it. What's going on, Mr. Pollen? Good to see you, brother. Yeah, I think it's pretty, man. I like football, though. Yeah, it's not the prettiest. It doesn't, have that nice copper, horse head coming up and that nice sleek lean arm coming out. It is. But when you do use this, make sure to get some copper mesh along with it. And you can put the copper mesh inside that football, and it'll help remove the sulfides and stuff that the traditional copper does. So it's useful for that as well. But one of the best things about this pot is it's got a pot and it's got a tri-clamp on the top. And you can, add, like we were talking about earlier, I was showing the column. You can put this right on top of it, right? Get the 2-inch, and actual pot that you'll get, the football has a 2.5, so you'll get a 2.5 to 2 reducer, and then you'll just put this right on top of that, and then you can make some of vodka and some of your higher proof stuff and get higher attenuation. Yeah. Super stoked. Got my first 50-pound bag of Truckers. Awesome. That's good stuff there now. Vacuum sealing it. Awesome. Yeah, that's good stuff. Definitely some good stuff. I've drank a lot of good liquor made from that corn. That's it. Oh yeah, it's gonna look awesome. It'll be a lot prettier than the football. All right, so let's we can be judged here. Let's oh shit, let me see here. We can decide. I do like the sleekness of the milk pot. And I like the way it comes, has that more traditional tapered top, similar to a steel. Here's the reducer I was talking about, by the way, that you'll put on top of that football. It goes from 2.5 down to 2. They're pretty common. You'll definitely need that. Or maybe a couple of them if you want to use that football head and go into something else. But I'm going to have to do a couple things here. I'm looking for your picture that we shared last week. I know it's in here, unless it's still in my screenshots folder. But we're going to have this little beauty contest. Oh, here it is. All right. So which looks better? That right there with bulkhead fitting and ferrule on top, or that? I don't know. I like the tapered cap and smaller tapered top of this. It'll definitely help cut down on foam buildup and foam coming out. So that's why the traditional steel came up. It came up and then tapered in at the cape. That cape, it wasn't just to taper down to a smaller cap. That cape helped control a lot of the foaming. So they'd stop your mash at the very bottom of the cape. Then you had all that airspace and then the cap coming off that to take care of the foaming, right? Because you can't even boil water without it foaming. You can imagine what a beer is going to do. So I don't know. You be the judge. Which is prettier, that or that? I don't know. I like the looks of that milk can pretty well. But they're both pretty functional. They're both going to work well for y'all. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah, it's been growing a little while. Starting to get, actually, it seems like it's thinning out some. I'm getting old and it seems like it's getting shorter and thinner. I don't know. So's my body and the hair on my head. It's getting a little thinner too. I'm getting shorter. It's starting to slump, get old. We're getting small. Yeah, a good 5-gallon bucket with a copper coil. Definitely. And I think Phil and other people sell that. They were just talking about that just not too long ago. So Phil and them will sell a half-inch or 5/8. You definitely don't want to go any less than half-inch. 5/8 or better is great. 5/8 is going to be a little bit more than half. 7/8 even better. But coils. So this comes in a box coiled up already. Don't get that hard M-rated copper and try to fill it full of sand and bend it and heat it and bend it and work your ass off. Just buy soft copper. We don't beat your copper up. It doesn't really matter that it's soft and flexible. It's not going to hurt a thing, and actually it's better and easier to make your condenser coil from. Because it's already coiled. You just got to tighten your coil up a little smaller, depending on what you're putting it in. But and then there's a little bulkhead fitting and a little grommet that you can buy and just slide your copper through. And if you have to, you silicone a little bit around that, and it'll be pretty much leak free. The little rubber grommet, silicone grommet slides right through, and those work great. You can build your own. Phil Billy's got some videos that'll show you how to build them. And if you don't want to go to the time and trouble, you can buy them. And a lot of people look at it and say, oh, I can't believe you charge that much. It only costs this and that to buy the parts at Menards or somewhere else. But you got to understand, somebody is going to Menards or someplace buying those parts for the same price, taking it home, spending hours getting it shaped just right, making sure it doesn't leak, putting it in a bucket, and shipping it to you. So their time's worth something, So if you don't want to pay the profit, then do it yourself. He'll show you how to do it yourself. But, a lot of people don't have time's money. You don't have time to do it. You could be doing something working and make more money than the time it'd cost to build it. So let somebody else do it and go out there and earn the big bucks, right? And pay somebody else to do their labor of love. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's lots of ingenious ways. I guess you could do it in a gourd if you had to, right? So I've seen it done in bamboo and gourds, clay pots in some of these third world countries. It's amazing some of the things they've come up with. But yeah, they've been been using metals and stuff for a long time. But yeah, it's amazing to see just some clay pots, kiln dried and kilned up clay and put a cap on it and biscuit dough just like you would a copper one. And I've seen some pretty amazing stuff, by a lot of different. So there's lots of great videos out there to check and look. Type in third world, distillation steels or third world steels or something like that in Google, and look at some of the ingenious ways that they've come up with making this over the years. Howdy, howdy. How are you doing this fine Tuesday? Glad you joined us. I know I'm behind. I get long-winded though. I'm hoping everybody gets a little of this, and then we're just not talking about Clinton pantyhose. That's funny. I am a little bit behind. I'm gonna try to catch up. Yeah, I did too, man. I love old Dolly. I'm sad to hear that, man. She was definitely a rebel. Yeah, Danielle's a nice lady. I've met her and talked with her. She's a good lady and a patriot. She's a pilot and a patriot. Does a lot of good things. Yeah, stacking fractions. Oh yeah, let me show you the keg. You can also do a keg steel. So let me show you a keg with the column, because they're kind of sexy too, right, Clint? There you go. That's pretty damn sexy too, ain't it? That's cheap sexy right there now. That's some cheap stuff. $35, $40 for a steel unmodified. But I will say, you want to get the modifications done. You want to get a little bit, because I ran off a steel for a long time. Long time. My biggest gripe with them was it was hard to keep them clean because you had a 2-inch ferrule in the top, right? And you can't get your arm down in there and scrub, and you can't use a stick and a rag and try to tie something to a stick and get in there and scrub. Tried it all. And go to a car wash, and I didn't have a pressure washer. I was too, didn't have the money for that. So I had to take it to car washes and try to wash the inside out, and look kind of funny cleaning my beer keg out the car wash. Sure, they had some questions, but like a 4-inch or a 6-inch ferrule welded into the top of that, depending on the size of your arm, I'd have to get a 6. I couldn't get these meat hooks in a 4, but get in there and be able to scrub, it means a lot. So, and then getting one of those reducers to go from 4 to 2 or 6 to 2, those work great, and I wish to hell they had them. I've seen many creative ways, and people tell me many ways over the past how to clean it. That some would put pebbles, right? Creek stone, the rounded pebbles, not the sharp ones, but like the rounded pebbles. They'd fill that thing halfway full, fill it with water, and then just roll it down the hill and let those tumbling stones, kind of scrape and clean. Ingenious, right? I found it brilliant, but it's still a lot of trouble to clean it, to clean it out. So if you get your little 6-inch or 4-inch ferrule welded into the top, it's going to be able to get your hand in there and scrub with a Scotch-Brite, right, and clean it, keep it clean. But yeah, those are pretty nice too, and you can get any type of column to put on front of it. Doesn't have to be this one. In fact, I don't like this one all that well. I don't like the deflegmator. That's just a single tube in there, deflegmator, and that's like a Liebig deflegmator and a Liebig condenser. I'm much more fond of a shotgun condenser and shotgun Liebig. But you can see the sight glass on the top and the copper mesh that's loosely packed in there. I'd probably put a little bit more in it, but that's what keeps a lot of the sulfites out as your vapor goes through it. But yeah, that's awesome too. Yeah, what I did, Henry, is I bought a tap and die set. 2 reasons. One is so I could enlarge those fittings into a little bit larger, and B, because those damn those Chinese threads never really match up with MPC stuff we got here at home, right? Never. It's always that's why they send you lots of the Teflon tape with every plumbing fitting you get from them, because they make up for the inability to cut a proper thread with half a roll of Teflon tape, right? That's what they do. And if they send you a bunch of Teflon tape, you better use it. But I just simply tapped mine out to a proper size and used larger, and I used elbows. I'll show you why. Coming off these, you'll see that it goes straight out and then it kind of bends down. Well, what happens over time, especially these are kind of rigid, so they're not so bad. But a lot of the more flexible vinyl lines, like most people are going to get, they tend to fold over very easily and crimp. And when they come out like that, they come out and then they fold over and crimp. So if you have an elbow coming out and down, they come straight down and they don't crimp and they don't have gravity bending them over like that. So I got brass elbows and put elbows in there after I tapped them out and just use regular vinyl line. Works great. What's going on, Mr. Parker? Good to see you, brother. Awesome. Yeah, so when it goes from 170, you're up there, you're in your head regions. Then it kind of mellows out to 140 for a good long while. That tends to be when you get closer to your hearts. And then when it drops off to 70, you're pretty much in your tail. So you can kind of go by that and use that as your gauge to help separate. But there's always going to be, that 170 to 140 slow transition, and you got to chop it right, where you need to maximize the ethanol. Then you'll get that 140 for a pretty good while, and then it just drops off the shelf to 90, 70, 60, and that's collect it down as far as you can. If you're running on propane, it's probably not going to be economical to run it a whole lot all the way down to 10, but if you're on electric, run that sucker all the way down if you got time. And it's almost time for me to share those links again. I'll wait a few more minutes. Right. Yeah. Just buy new lines and larger lines. And I think it was like 1/4 inch or something coming out of those. And I think I put like 3/8, or no, it wasn't half, but I think I went with 3/8, and just that little extra eighth, gave me in larger lines going into it, helped a lot. So the lines carried more. The fittings kind of constricted it some, but it's much more efficient. And the elbows work great coming out and down. Somebody said, "Oh, those elbows going to restrict your flow." I'd rather restrict the flow with an elbow than have that line crimped over and restricting it dramatically. And that's what happens over time, every time, unless you got a really stiff hose. And mine needed kind of flexible, I like being able to run it along wherever and drain it. And so it works out pretty well. Oh, there's trouble. Trouble's in the house. What's going on, GW? Good to see you, brother. How you been? Yeah. Steaming it out help, especially with copper. That vinegar, the acidic, but even acid and some other stuff. We know water's a solvent for a lot of things. Acid is a solvent for a lot of things, and then alcohol, is a solvent for a lot of things. So if you can run all three through, that's optimal, and you'll cover all the different solubilities, right? Right. I do like the needle valves, still. I just increased the size of them. But having a needle valve is better than a ball valve, because especially going into your deflegmator, because you want to be able to adjust the flow going in and out of your deflegmator, especially in, right? So you can adjust the amount of coolant going through it and adjust you can adjust that and the temperature of the water. It's easier to adjust the flow than the temperature of the water going into it, but you can make those adjustments either way. But I prefer to use a needle valve going into that. That way I can control the flow instead of a ball valve, which is pretty all or nothing kind of thing. Oh, daggone, he didn't even hear me say howdy. He's been drinking all day. I guarantee you that wild man. Yeah, he's going to bed at 9 o'clock. Them old men go to bed early though. That's how you can tell you're an old man. You go to bed at 9 o'clock. Just giving him a hard time. Yeah, they do get real heavy, especially those elbows and all the fittings and the sight glasses weighs a lot. The spool's not so bad, but man, those fittings, those elbows and everything, and the T's and unions, they're definitely very heavy. Hell yeah, yeah. We work well together, Gene. We do. Clint and I both been at it for well over 40 years. So we bring a few years experience into it. Clint's had the ability to work in a commercial distillery, so he's familiar with a lot of the larger steel setups and how those operate than I am. I've never operated one of those big, huge fractional steels and some of these hybrid steels where Clint's had the pleasure of working on. So together we kind of complement each other on our knowledge. I think we do a pretty good job. All right, let me get those links out while I'm thinking about it, and I'll be right back. But I got more to share this time because they cut me off early. Damn them. So let me get these out. Then we'll get right back at it. Hope that I can get them all out. There was so few I was able to get out originally. I might not be able to get them all out this time. I definitely need to be more careful next time and not start sending something and cancel it and try to send it again because that definitely limited me this time. I didn't think they would count that, but obviously they do. So that sucks. But I don't think it's somebody sitting there. It's just a digital thing. But hopefully we'll get the rest of these out to all these fine groups because, some of the second batch I send out, a little bit of some of the smaller groups, but they're some of the best ones, and some of the most active ones. So some of the big groups just have a mass of people that never follow or watch, and some of the smaller groups are pretty tight knit and have quite a bit of activity and some good people running them. I like them, but a lot of them are in the same groups as well. So that's one of the reasons why I do them second, because a lot of them are also in, like the militia. A lot of them, pretty much most of the people in a lot of these groups are in the militia as well. If they're not, they should be. They definitely should be. So I think it's got it. Good deal. Second, I'm reading. Let's read some of this admin chat real quick. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I did promise that we were going to talk about. I wish that was the case, man. I'd be getting it constant, man. I'm losing it all, bro. except on my face. It's you'd think if it grew on my head as well as it does on my face, I'd be a hippie still. Okay, cool. Phil, Felipe. All right, we'll call you Phil. Phil Billy is our brother, and he's the one that runs Moonshine Militia. So, anytime you hear me talking about Phil, I'm talking about Phil Billy Moonshine. If you want to see, check him out, YouTube, and I guess you can see the streamer at the bottom, philbillymoonshine.com. Got all kinds of parts and everything, especially for these vevers. And lots of good videos on YouTube on how to. So if you want to do a lot of the work yourself and you don't want to pay him to do it, he'll teach you how to do it. That's the kind of guy he is. So, if you want to pay to do it, pay him and let him do it. If you don't, you want to learn to do it yourself, he'll have videos to show you how. So that's pretty good, isn't it? Yeah, the vevers work fine. They they work as well as anything. A lot of people, oh yeah, that old China pot on the stove. I've seen liquor come off those that's a lot better than they put out in their 50-gallon copper rigs. So, it's more about the game, not the steel. So up your game if you're going to talk that. But nothing against copper steels. Copper steels are definitely the best, but there's a lot of maintenance that goes along with it. So just know that going into it. But as far as just price and for the hobby, kind of hard to beat. And they put out good liquor, especially once you start learning to put that copper mesh in there to remove sulfites. If you have a mash that has a little bit more sulfur in it, a lot of times when we beginners uh, make a mash, it's going to have some stresses that cause hydrogen sulfide to build up a little bit. So that's going to be common. I know what you're talking about. More head you can see, not a different head, right? I know. I got you. Awesome. Oh, Tex does. He gets some beehives. He's the honey man. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's one of the beauties about keg too. You can throw that some bitch in the back of your truck and not worry about it bouncing around, rolling around. It's fine. I wouldn't do that with a beaver or milk or a milk can. But yeah, they're bulletproof. And another beautiful thing about them is when somebody sees it sitting in your garage, that's just an old beer keg sitting there. They don't see a moonshine steel. They see that football rig and they're like, or that milk with a column on it. They're like, what's that? So if you keep that keg without the column on it, it's just a keg. Text multitasking. So anyway, I'm going to go over diastatic too if we don't have any more questions. Well, you want to make sure that it's not proofed real high. A lot of times people associate moonshine with high proof, and that's because it's not regulated. In a lot of states were even like pure grain. I grew up thinking everybody could just get 190 proof pure grain, like it, like you do at the liquor stores here in Kentucky. But no, Ohio it's 150, 60 or something like that. Other states 170. Everybody has a ceiling on the proof that you can buy because beyond a certain proof, it's hazardous for you to drink, and a lot of people don't know that. So they just drink higher proof the better until it just parches their throat. I took a shot of 190 pure grain. You don't want to do that. It hurts you. It's not good for you. I did it as a stupid kid. Well, I was over 21 when I did it. But yeah, it parched me bad. It was horrible. Definitely a mistake you don't want to make. But yeah, Philippe or Phil, we'll definitely help you, brother. We'll get you going from scratch and have you making your own shine in no time, bro. Got the 15-gallon, 220-volt electric bever. Here's what he's talking about. This similar to this, if it's not the exact same one, I'm sure, but it's similar to this. It's used a lot in beer making as well, but it works perfectly fine in distilling as well. So it's a fine pot to get, and I know I've got a picture of one somewhere here. I just saw that picture earlier. Where was that? There we go. Actually, that is it. It says Bever on the side. But yeah, this is what he's talking about. It's brew pot, and that's degrees centigrade, not Fahrenheit on the front there. So let's see. Maybe it is 77. Let's see. That's pretty hot centigrade. It would be 170. No, it isn't that bad. So that's probably what it is. That's Celsius, and I think you can adjust them to also go into Fahrenheit if you hit the buttons on the front right. But yeah, that's what he's talking about. Little bever brewing pot. Well, not little, 15-gallon, but they'll have sparge tubes and everything. They're in the false bottom, designed for brew making, but you can replace that glass top with, they make a copper top. I know Appalachian will make them, Phil makes them. A lot of people will make them, but you got to give them exact template or dimensions of the top, and they can make you a little copper cap with a bulkhead fitting in it, or a welded soldered fitting that you can go into, a 2-inch tri-clamp system. But yeah, they're nice little systems. I contemplating getting one of these. My only concern when I got one of these was what happens if the heating element goes out in them. I will say, once your warranty's up, there are some hacks out there that you can, there's switch for high and low. There's a hack out there that allows you to do, I'm not sure if you can do both at the same time, or if the hack just allows you to do both at the same time. I think some of the older ones only had a medium and high, low, medium, high. And if you did the hack, it could run 2 coils at once or something like that. I don't know that much about it, but I do remember something to that effect. But those are nice systems too. They're made for beer making, but they'll distill just fine. You can crank the temp on up, and it'll take it from 77 on up to, which is 170, I think it said. So it'll take it on up to the 190, mid 190s that you're going to need to start distilling. I did notice in some of the groups earlier, a lot of people talking about distilling with a pop temp of between 170 and 80. Don't ever listen to that. Whoever says that's never distilled with a thermometer on their setup, or they're looking at vapor temps or something different. If you're running a typical mash that you haven't put tails in, that's not pretty high proof, or you've proofed down to 40 to make a second run, right? Or 40%, 80, less than 80 proof. Then, you might get something coming off in the mid 180s, but a typical mash is not going to boil anything off in the 170 to 80s at all. A lot of people know that it says boiling point of ethanol is 173.1, and they get it in their mind, oh, so that's the temperature that you need to cook on these steels. They've never done it, and they're talking like they're talking a big game like they know everything about it. But anytime somebody says that, either they've never run with a thermometer on their steel, or more likely they've never run at all. So when you see that, that's a big indicator that the person that's talking has no clue what they're talking about. Unless, of course, they're talking about vapor temps, but still, that's that would be at the top of a long column. Yeah, electric is definitely the way to go. A lot of people do the elements, so they'll do a system where they use, like, it's kind of like a water heater element, just like a water heater element, except they're made from stainless steel. And you can weld in a 2-inch ferrule into the bottom section of your steel, and put one of these elements in there that I obviously don't have a picture of, but I thought I did. Let me get one pulled up here. Damn it, man. How do I not have an element? Well, we will after this, won't we? All right, let me cancel that. Let me open up. Man, this admin's chat's going crazy tonight. I hate that I'm not able to follow it, but got things to do. Let's see. All right, let's do ORD stainless. elements. All right. So you can get these, and you can get them wavy or straight. The wavy ones seem to be better because you get more surface area in a shorter area. So some of the long ones may not want to fit into a smaller pot, where these wavy ones kind of take up a little more space. But I'm going to go ahead and price this for the 5500 watt, which is pretty typical. I'm just going to pull up a Amazon clip on it. And yes, I've purchased one of these. So let me go to adding that pick. Damn, man. And screenshots. And we will get back to diastatic power and malting. So I definitely want to do that here. But let me show this really quick. And I do want to. So this is an element that goes into a ferrule, right? So you just put that into the side of the bottom, right? So it's going to be in the lower section of your steel. You don't want ever to have air on these, right? It always needs to be submerged in a mash while you're running, you know. So they're going to be in the bottom third of your tank, and you're never going to run it where it, you know, alcohol runs out and you leave this exposed. It'll go up like a light bulb, flash bulb, it's gone. But yeah, so those go into the side, and then you know, gauge your wire coming out of it based on the size of the amperage of the element itself. And you can use 220. They come in 110 or 120 and 240. So you can run, you know, whatever size you want. But once you do this, and you don't have to pay for propane anymore, and it's so much more convenient, easy to clean, no bottles to deal with. You can do it inside a lot safer. You don't have to worry about the carbon monoxide issues, but still dangerous to run your steel inside. So you need to take all the precautions you can. But yeah, a buddy of mine went from propane to electric, and he's like, "Oh my god, you know, I almost wish I hadn't bought the air conditioner to put in my steel house. It used to get so damn hot, even in the winter. You know, it's always so hot in here. You know, I almost have to run the air conditioner. Now that I've gone to electric, it stays pretty cool in here all the time. All you need is really a fan. So it really helps reduce not only your fuel cost, but it keeps your, you know, your steel house pretty cool. Awesome. That's a nice pot still, brother. Hell yeah. Get electric, man. You will be. I always thought, man, there's no way that's not going to scorch. You know, there's just no way. You know, it's going to have to leave a flavor. And I always just kind of nah. And then I started drinking some of this alcohol that people were making off electric, and I'm like, well, that doesn't have any scorch flavor at all. You know, and in fact, that's pretty damn good. And then, you know, it's just if you do it properly and don't, you know, get solids in there, it's not an issue. So I was like, pretty damn big. But I do have a picture somewhere of a nightmare. I don't think it's in my screenshots anymore. Let's see. Nah, I shouldn't do this. It'd probably take me too long to find it. I don't have a lot of time. I'm behind. But I do want to show you what happens when you do get some milky solids in there. Let me just go through these real quickly and see if I can see it. It might be on my phone. Yeah, it's probably going to be on my phone. It's on my phone because I don't remember seeing it going through these files. But it's a stainless, and it's encrusted with a lot. It's showing it cracked and stuff. And I think basically what happened was air got to it, and it did that. So yeah, you definitely don't want to let air get to it, and you don't want to put a grainy mash in it because it will definitely ruin it and scorch it. Yeah, me too, brother. Blue corn, rolled oats, and figs. Who shot John? What am I missing? Who shot John? Let me go back and see. I've missed something. I'm missing something. I did miss a question, and I think Clint got it. So that's good. That'll help me keep ahead. What's the guy's name that just posted the absinthe vid? I didn't see it, but I do know that Phil Billy did an absinthe vid just recently. So that's probably him. Yeah, for sure. That's Phil. Yeah. Well, we compliment each other on our knowledge. It's we learn from each other. Yeah, Phil Billy posted that. I'm glad I'm getting ahead now. I'm getting caught up. Absolutely. Yeah, that'll be fine. Definitely work fine. And the thing about any larger, I would definitely want to go larger. But it just takes longer time. It's definitely going to heat it up to the temp you want. It just takes a little bit longer. Whereas larger elements in that same size steel would take a little less time. So, at 3,500 watts is going to be, 20% faster at heating it up than yours, but it'll do the same thing. So, yeah, you'll be fine, brother. If I'm talking about links, it's probably in the actual groups. So it's going to be in the DIY Shine and Steel Building or Militia, or on YouTube, Phil Billy Moonshine on YouTube, and there's lots of different videos and stuff. Yeah, I've always wanted to do bees too, but it's just I found out it's a lot of work, and I decided I didn't want to do it. I just figured you could put them damn, beehives out there, and every once in a while just go out there and collect the damn honey. Just put them out, and collect honey, and that's all you do. And in the wintertime, just pile up some straw around it, and you'd be all right. It's a lot more work than that, so I decided no. And I don't like getting stung. I'm not. That's not a problem. That's why we have them stored. You can go back and watch them the same place you're watching them now after the podcast is over. You can go back and it'll be a video that you can watch. In fact, 90% of the people that watch this podcast don't watch it live. They pick it up at lunch, they pick it up on the way to work, listen to it, or watch it at home at their leisure. A lot of times, especially on Saturday nights, they got better things to do than be on here with poor old Santa. But yeah, a lot of people, most of the people don't watch it live. I have time for a little shot. I'm gonna have to drink some of this soluble oat. Pretty good. I like it. I like with the wood too. I'm gonna have to mix them together. Yeah, it'll work. It'll work. Just a little slower. Trying an agave ferment. Awesome. But the entire run smells like ammonia. Well, that's definitely, you're going to get different odors coming off. Ammonia is kind of different. A lot of times, some people get a vomit smell, which is a butyric acid. Sometimes you'll get a sulfury smell, which is hydrogen sulfide. A lot of different odors come from what's known as organic acid. So when the yeast stress a little bit, they start kicking off some organic acids that can sometimes cause some, smell issues and flavor issues. Sometimes those go away and sometimes they don't. Sometimes you can distill them out. Others, you have to let them either work their course or, the tragic dump. But most time it's best to try to run it and make sure it works okay. But ammonia, it's kind of a mystery. Hopefully, did you use DAP, diammonium phosphate, as a nutrient. If so, maybe too much of that might cause it. I don't even know if that would cause that off flavor though, but it's definitely a ammonium. Uh, but it's hard to say, Benny. I've not had that. Yeah, they said the same thing I did. An ammonia smell in distilling mash is usually caused by an excess or unconsumed nitrogen based yeast nutrient breaking down. Yeah, that's probably if you've used DAP, if you use too much of it, which is easy to do, you'll get that odor, and which is one of the reasons why a lot of people don't like DAP is because they misdose it. You definitely want to underdose it and supplement that with some other things as well. It's a great jump starter. It's great getting things going, um, but it's also good to use in conjunction with other nutrients that have a little bit better rounded base that contain more vitamins and minerals other than just the diammonium phosphate that gives you plenty of yan and fan, but it's light in a lot of other supplemental things. So a lot of people you use both. They'll underdo the DAP and then they'll use a Fermax or a Fermate O. I think someone mentioned last week that Fermade K is a combination of O and the Fermax. So that would probably be one of the economical, but won't get that ammonia smell, but you'll get the good jump start of that ammonium, diammonium phosphate. And you'll also get the benefit of more organic, uh, nutrient rich yeast holes, basically. So, and a lot of people break up multivitamins as long as they don't have a lot of iron in them. That's fine to do, especially if it's got zinc. Zinc is something that's very important, and essential. Calcium as well. Both of those are very important in the distillation process and the fermentation process. So yeah, but yeah, I've never had that issue, but it can be caused by using an excess of diammonium phosphate. That's the only thing I can think of that would cause that particular odor. So if so, make sure it's teaspoons and not tablespoons. Everybody makes those mistakes. I had my fiance. I was out of town and I was step mashing something, and I wanted her to add some teaspoons of the DAP. It ended up being tablespoons, but it didn't get the ammonia smell, but it did get the sulfury kind of smell. But it gassed off and ended up being just fine. So, but yeah, it was it was overdone. I didn't drink it as a wine. It ended up as a brandy that was okay, but it was shot as a wine for sure. No, you're fine. Yeah, it takes a while. I'm still. It's hard for me. I'm old and forgetful. I can't remember my phone number sometimes, so it's easy to forget things like that, especially when you get old. Over 21, of course I am. Of course I was when I did that. Yeah, we had some trolls in there Saturday. You weren't here, Clint. We had to deal with some troll action. Hell yeah. I look forward to it, man. Yeah, I'll definitely be there. Friday evening, we're doing a Q&A, and Saturday evening as well. So it'll be there, I think, on the fairgrounds in one of the buildings. So definitely check it out. I think there's actually Dan's putting out a flyer. Let me see if he's put that out yet. Let me check here real quick. He hadn't put it out yet. Damn it, Dan. But yeah, go check out Farm to Bottle. I think he's going to put it up next day or two. But yeah, it's I think 8 o'clock. Let me look on my phone. He did send it to me on my phone, but I don't know how to get it on there right now real quickly. But let me see here what time. I can definitely tell you what time. And he took a picture of me and then AI'd it. It looks kind of funny, but that's all right. Yeah, let's see here. Friday night, it will be 9:30 and after, and it'll be me, Jason Bartoluzzi, and Distiller Woody. And then on Saturday, it will be from 7 to 8. And it'll have whoever, probably me and the same. I don't know. Jim Aubrey might be in there with us. I'm not sure how it's scheduled, but yeah, should have me, Jason, and Distiller Woody. If y'all haven't heard of Distiller Woody, he's very knowledgeable. He does a lot with yeast. He does a lot of yeast propagation. That's kind of his specialty, but he's very knowledgeable and a lot of stuff. Understands the science as well, and seems like a very knowledgeable, good guy. I look forward to meeting him. I never met him in person. I've watched him and Amanda on some podcasts and some other stuff, and like to get him on here sometime to sit and talk about yeast propagation with everybody and get him and Amanda both on here, both very knowledgeable, and Alan Bishop. That'd be an awesome show. Maybe we can work on that in the next couple months for sure. All very knowledgeable people. Be an awesome little round table of the yeast peoples. Awesome. That's great, brother. Well, I hope it turns out well. If it doesn't, man, we're the place to answer your questions and help you start doing, make it more drinkable and doing some different things and trying to eliminate using that sugar and doing conversions to make it smoother. So we can definitely. Kenya, I don't know much about them. I do know that there's a hack for them that maybe that's it that allows you to control those elements a little better than just low, medium, and high. Like some of those, see, they came out with one called a Digiboil. It wasn't Bever, but there's one called a Digiboil, and then there's the old T500s. But they're all based on brewing, right? Beer making, but they can be used for. I know at one time there was an outfit that commercially that made a copper, cape to go on top of them, and it wasn't Appalachian. It was somebody that sold it through Amazon. But yeah, Appalachian will make those for you, and so will Philbilly and Jason Wade. And here I go. If I forget somebody, I'm in trouble. Wayne and a bunch of others, man, they'll all do it. Bruiser, all of them will do it. So, but anybody that does that, steel building can do those. Price is going to be on what their time's worth and how busy they are. Yeah, they work great. Nice, simple setups work great. Him and Jason both make probably the best around. What's going on, Tal? Good to see you. Welcome to the podcast. Yeah, definitely don't. Yeah, I've got a 9,000 watt one, and it's like got the triple loops in it, but it's not real long. But it's got, instead of just looped around twice, it does a third loop. But man, it's going to be a quick. I want it to help boil water faster. I hate waiting on the water to boil. Mikey, what's going on, brother? So, did you see the video where somebody took just regular apple peels and rinds and fermented them to make mother of vinegar? It's a pretty good little video. It's going around on Facebook. I thought about you when I saw it. It's not wars, man. I like those high element wars. All right, Gene. Thanks for business, brother. We'll see you next Tuesday. If you're not going to Far in the Bottle, we'll see you next Tuesday. Yeah, and it is, and you don't have to know the science to. I mean, you don't have to be able to do anything except follow simple instructions to make good liquor. You can, just like following a recipe to bake a cake or do a goulash or whatever. If you can follow the recipe and you can do the steps exactly as they say, you can make good liquor. And especially once you replicate that and do it over and over again, you'll get better and better at it. And then you'll think, well, I bet I could do this to make it better. And you'll start learning ways to improvise it and make it even better. So you don't have to understand the science. I know some people like to know what makes everything tick, but you don't have to do this. That's the beauty of it. You can be, just push it away like I do calculus, and just say, I don't understand. I'm done. Get it out of my face. I don't want to deal with it. Or you can want to, learn about every bit that you can find out and what makes everything, every bug tick in it. So it's just how inquiring your mind is and how much time you have to spend and whether you've gone down the rabbit hole or not. Some people can't resist that rabbit hole. Some people could care less. They're like, I'm making good liquor. I don't need to know all this, that, and the other. I know basically what you're saying, and that's all I need to know. And that's a fact. That is all you need to know because there's some moonshiners out there that can take sugar and cornmeal and make some the best corn liquor ever. And there's people out there that have all the knowledge in the world and produce terrible, terrible stuff. So, but I will say the more you know, the generally the better it's going to get. But, you know, experience is a good teacher, and running the same thing over and over and over doesn't make you dumb or simple. It just makes you experienced at that one particular task. Now you take a moonshiner that's done the sugar, the thin mash for 30, 40 years, like I started out, and say, make me a gin. They'll be like, huh? I mean, they won't know the first thing to do. So once you start broadening your horizons and learning to make different distillates, you're less of a moonshiner and more of a distiller, right? Well, I used to be a moonshiner. Now I consider myself more of a distiller. That I've learned to make a lot of different distillates and making a lot of different products other than just thin mash corn liquor like I did for a long time. Yeah, yeah, that's good. Tell me how that works for you. And I've heard the same thing. Yeah, it can work its course and go away, especially if it is Fermax. Yeah, that's what it is. You probably used a little bit too much. More is not always better. So try and underdo what they say. A lot of times they'll have you use more than you need. So yeah, just use less. But that's exactly what it is. It's the Fermax. And it could be just where it's unconsumed. So you may have had some unfermentable sugars in there. So all the yeast you put in there didn't, have enough sugar to consume. So you've got less yeast. They're dying off. So there's yet less yeast to eat the nutrients that the recipe thought you would need for that amount of sugar that you should have had that were fermentable. So if they die off early, I think that happens a lot. So that's probably the case. Yeah, you gotta be careful. That's why I like having a larger exhaust on that flake than entrance because it'll always handle anything you can, even full flow, it'll still drain. You don't have to watch it. You're right and babysit that valve and turn it on. That's why I like having maybe like an inch and a half PVC coming out and then maybe just a small, 1/2 inch line going in. Yeah, and you need a little acid in there too to help it. Yeah, yeah. You got to drop that pH. Add a little citric acid to it or lemon juice. That'll help break that glycosidic bond between that glucose and fructose in that sucrose. So let's see. Right. Trying to get caught up here. Oh, I was thinking, well, I was talking about 21 when I drank that pure grain. I think I was 21. I'm pretty sure I was over 21. I never drank before I was 21. For YouTube and everything else, that's what I have to say. And I'm sticking to it. All right, so I'm caught up. Yes, it is. It is time to talk about malting grain. Okay, so I had the question about malting grains, and I know a lot of people. If you're able to buy barley, that's awesome. I've been looking for a great deal for a farmer that farms barley for a long time. I can get my wheat, I can get rye, but barley is escaping me. I'll find it eventually, but I have malted quite a bit of wheat, and it's the same as the barley is going to be. In fact, it's hard to differentiate the two. But I will say there's several things that you're going to want to be careful of. I've looked online and there's some instructions. There's a lot of YouTube videos, and they talk about once you get done, at the end process, putting your malts in at 180 degrees in the kiln and all this. Absolutely not, unless that's something that you're going to make a crystal malt or a chocolate malt, or you're going to smoke and heat. Uh, Definitely don't. That will denature it. Don't listen to what they're saying. So that's for beer makers that are using malts that they don't need diastatic on. But as a base malt and something that you're going to depend on diastatic power, do not do that. Don't listen to that. So basically, when you malt your grains, you're going to have a large enough area to stretch your grains out. So you're going to have to spread them out. You don't want them real thick, and bound up because, well, let me get to it first. So first of all, you're going to have something large enough to soak all that you want to do in. So if you got a 40-pound bag, you're going to have a 30 or 20-gallon fermenter so you can, or a barrel, whatever, so you can completely cover the grain, right? So it's going to, it's probably not going to be able to do it in a 5-gallon, probably going to take at least a 10-gallon, plus 20-gallon one. But dump all your grain underwater and stir it up real good and let it sit. It's going to sit for 10 hours, but in that 10-hour period, you want to change the water out. So you want it to sit for an hour, move it around with your hand. Don't get your mud mixer down in there and cracking grain and disturbing the grain and breaking them up or anything like that. Just stir them around with your hands, get up any loose dust, anything like that. Dump that out. And if you want to dump it to a brew bag and drain all the water off and then dump it back in there, pour water on it over it again. You can do a few rinses, but make sure that you're underwater for 10 hours, right? First 10 hours. Then you're going to lay them out. So I do a sheet, and I've also got some window screens. I do the sheet first, moisten the sheet, keep it wet, spread your grain out. You want to do this the first time you do it. It doesn't matter what temperature. You don't want to do it on a real hot day in a hot area with direct sun. You definitely don't want to get that kind of heat to it. But if you can do it in the shade, if it's 70, 80, 90 degrees in the shade, as long as you don't have direct sunlight and a lot of heat, you're going to be fine. But spread it out. You don't want it to be deep, because carbon dioxide will build up underneath it and it needs to respire, and it'll get hot if it's got a lot sitting on it. And you got CO2 building up here, and you need oxygen to get to it. Just every once in a while, rake it. If you do it on a sheet, you can pick each end of the sheet up, bunch it to the middle, and then spread it all back out again. You can use a little backside of a rake and spread it thin, be gentle, and spread it out, spritz it every time you mix it. Just get you a mister that you spray, and spray it down, mist it real good. You don't want it wet, but you want to keep it moist. You don't want it drying completely out, because we're germinating a seed, right? So after 10 hours of drying, then you'll go back into the bucket for 10 hours or so. When you're back into the bucket for the next 10 hours, you're going to want to mix it up, but you're going to start looking at the grain. And there's a little nodule that'll come out. And when that comes out, it's called a rootlet. And I think they call it a chit. CHIT is what the term is. They call it a chit. And that little chit is just a little nubbin. So that's telling you that's like the radical that we see coming out of the corn. And let me see, I got some pictures for y'all. Let's do some pictures. Let me remove that. Remove that. Let's get rid of all these, and then I'll show you some pictures. So I'm not going to be able to answer questions while I do this, because if I do, I'll get sidetracked and off topic. So I'll deal with any questions that you have in just a bit. But let me show some of these pictures that I pulled off for y'all, and we'll go over a few things. But first of all, let's see. Let's see here. We need to see these bigger. Where is my view? Extra large icons. Yeah, that's better. Now I can see. So let me see. A lot of these are issues with grains, and I'll talk about those in just a second. But hopefully somewhere I've got a picture of different size. And I think I might have a piece of corn or something like that, showing different little links. And I'm not seeing it. I've got hundreds of pictures that I'm looking through right now trying to scan them, so it's not easy, and I can pull off a picture if I have to. But anyway, yeah, it's kind of like this. Here, let me look. So this is corn, but you see that little radical coming off. So start at the left. There's your, corn kernel, and then the left. You see that little radical coming off there? That's what I'm talking about, and it gets longer. But that first little bit's kind of like a foot, then the radical comes off next to that. So once you see that coming off your grain in the second soaking, probably going to be maybe 6 to 10 hours, somewhere in that range, where you'll start seeing those come out. Sometimes it'll take longer. So you leave it in there and just stir it up every once in a while, not hard, just with your hand. But once you see that little nubbin come out, then you put it back out on your sheet, spread it out, and then allow it to start drying. But again, you're going to stir it. You don't want it to get hot. This time you really need to make sure it's in a cooler area, 60, 70, 80 degrees max. 60 to 70 preferable. That's why a lot of these malting houses, I think I do have some pictures, some malting houses. Pretty sure I pulled those off. Let's see if I can find them. Probably, hopefully. Let's see. Oh, yeah, here we go. So this is a malting house. And you can see they spread it across the floor. And they got little mechanical rakes that go back and forth and rake them and keep them turned. And these are cool. So this is going to be a 60, 70 degree, nice, cool place to work. And you can use a dehumidifier. So on this second, if you want to do it inside, and it doesn't have to be on a huge king size mattress sheet, it can be on a twin bed sheet or even smaller, a pillowcase if you're not doing a lot, right? Or a brew bag if you want. But just to spread it out, something that'll hold the moisture. If you do it outside, I recommend using bricks to hold the sheet down and using a second sheet over the top. and keep it sprayed down. That'll keep the birds and critters out of it, because they'll get in there and eat that shit up. There'll be a flock of birds all over it, man, if you allow it. But in these malting houses, they can control the temperature, and they can do some really heavily modified malting, which means when it's heavily modified, means you have a good full malt on a very high percentage of it. Under modified just means that some of it's perfect, some of it's not so perfect. So you definitely want to get it as modified as possible, and as much of highest percentage if you can, perfectly malted all at the same time. That's tough to do. So it just depends on, on the conditions that you have to work with. So on this second, try to keep it as cool as you can, keep it spread out. If you have a dehumidifier and you're doing it inside, that's awesome. You can control the temps a lot better. Inside temps are always in the 70s if you're in an air conditioned house, so that's even better. Spread it on the floor in your laundry room or whatever, and run a dehumidifier in that room to help keep it, dry, because we are drying it at this stage. We don't want it to get bone dry, but we're drying it. We don't want it moist. But at the same time, you'll notice that there's an acrospire. And if you look on the outside of your grain, you'll see this little vein sliding up. And let me see if I got a picture of it. You'll notice a little vein. Here we go. Sliding up the side of it. And it'll look like a little white vein. And if you can't see it, you can take an X-Acto knife and cut the grain open and look for it, and look for the length of that acrospire. When that acrospire gets about 75% the length of the grain, like your grain's that long, so if it gets just a quarter of reaching the top, that's when you want to stop your malting process. So you look for this little acrospire, and it'll grow, and you'll get the little rootlets coming out, right? And or chits, they call them chits, but it's rootlets, basically radicals, several names biologically. But this acrospire will tell you your rate. And when you get the majority of your malt with an acrospire that's 75% or so, that's when you want to halt the process. That's when you want to take all your grain up. You want to put it on a screen. You want to put it under a dehumidifier. You want to run fans, and it doesn't hurt to get it to about 120 degrees. So warm air you want at this point in time, because you want to dry it out fast, and you want to get to, I guess, a point of about 16% moisture or less, because that's when you run a lot less issues with molds and funguses, right? So you're going to dry it out well, and once it gets dried out, these little rootlets, chits, radicals, or whatever you want to call them, they'll start breaking off. I talked about a few weeks ago about having a little screen tumbler. You can run that. You can have your fan blowing into it. You got screen, it's in a circle, it tumbles, and it'll help break off those little rootlets without damaging. Also, when you're drying it at this second stage, you don't want all these little rootlets binding together and clotting up, because then you'll get mold, right? So you won't get dry enough. It'll hold too much moisture. Again, you don't want it perfectly dry, but you don't want it wet. And if it clots like that, it'll get wet. So you got to bust all these little clots up with your rake, raking it back and forth, and making sure you don't have any clots, and making sure it's nice and smooth. And it takes a while to get used to it. But once you see those acrospires about 75% the length of your grain, then it's time to dry them out completely. Dehumidify, hair dryer. If you got a heat gun, don't get it too hot, but just blow it in the room. Get the room up to 120, and get that air flowing, that hot air flowing, dehumidifiers running, and get that moisture out quickly. And then you've got break your little rootlets off, and then you have a malted grain. It's basically you're germinating that grain. Now, for people that grow grain, or when you're buying grain and you're looking at it, there are some kind of things to look for, and there's a lot of diseases in some of the grains, and fusarium is one of the things you want to look for. And in your seed roots, it'll cause like a bleaching, sometimes a pinkish bleaching, and sometimes a little hairy fungus growth. Here's a shot of that. So anytime you see this in your malts, it's no bueno. That's fusarium. It's a toxin, mycotoxin. It's not good for you at all. Make you sick. Not good. Not bueno. Um, it's not the same as the ergo that we've talked about in the past that gets on the corn, but the ergo is probably even more toxic. But the fusarium is something that you have to worry about more in your seed grains. Let me show some more pictures of it. Um, it will affect corn, but a lot less likely to affect corn, but it can affect your corn, but it's more likely to happen in your rye, your barleys, and your wheats. So you're not going to see it a lot in corn. It's generally in a tropical areas. You'll see more of it. Very moist areas. Here's a good view of it, bleached out. So that doesn't look so harmful, does it? It's like, well, it's just a little lighter color. You know, you would think nothing of it, right? That's fusarium, and that can be fairly toxic. People that raise wheat and barley and rye, when they see this, they know, and it's not even fit for animal feed, right? So you'll notice that if your animals aren't eating it, there's a reason, and you need to examine your grain a little more closely. And if you have this bleaching, and sometimes it'll be slightly pink, don't use it. Don't feed it to your animals. Your animals have pretty good sense. If they're not eating until they get starved, and then they'll force feed themselves it. But if they're not eating it, generally there's a reason, and this could be that. I do have some pictures of some ergo to show you, because it's extremely toxic, and it's a killer. This is what that'll look like in your grain. That black, it'll always have that indicative black. So anytime you see anything like that in your grains, you need to talk to whoever sold your grains and say, you're selling a highly toxic product that has caused major plagues back in the days before they knew what it was, and killed a lot of people, back in the Middle Ages and stuff. But yeah, let me show some more pictures of that, because it's ergo, and it gets in corn too, and it's really, really bad. But here's another shot of it. It's very similar, but yeah, anytime you see those black grains coming out of your wheats or rye or barleys, just no, run. And make sure you tell the supplier that they've got an extremely toxic product, and they're likely to get their asses sued completely off, because very, very toxic. And I'm not going to talk about the other things that they've done with it, because that'll get us in trouble on YouTube. If you want to Google that, you can look at ergo, ERGOT. But yeah, exactly. Start your learning how to do it small and work your way up. You definitely don't want to, be doing hundreds of pounds of some expensive barley and mess it up. So yeah, definitely a good idea. So cut your teeth and learn how to do it. Learn how to chit. It's CHIT. That chit, you know what I mean? Mine chit. But yeah, it's I've heard that, but I don't know. I don't want mine coming out smelling like the damn fabric softeners and the sheets that I use in there. I'd be afraid that would do it at low heat. But I have heard that. I've heard it too. But yeah, you don't want to go over 120. Some say 140, which is technically right, the upper end for the glucanase, the beta glucanases. But 120 is a good safe spot. But a lot of these videos tell you, yeah, if you do that, just killing them at 180, it won't hurt nothing. People are like, oh, it's running the diastatic. No, it's not. It's got cool air coming into it at the same time. I only do it for a short period. They don't know what they're talking about. They've learned a little bit from reading somewhere else, but they don't know how to apply it, because that's what a lot of malting houses do to malts that are going to get chocolate or crystallized or denatured in the process anyway, or smoked under heat. So they don't care about that, right? They don't care about denaturing it. They're just trying to get it, dry quickly and efficiently, so they can make chocolate malt or what, crystal malts out of it or whatever. So that is, in a nutshell, kind of basic, how to do a malt. There's a lot more to it. There's some great videos out there. But for the most part, if you can follow those simple instructions and just make sure that it doesn't get too hot, and make sure that you rake it every few hours, in the both of those drying processes, and don't let it build up a lot of CO2 underneath you. It wants to respire. They say when it smells kind of like a cucumber, you're on the good path, because that's its respiration. It's respiring, and you're smelling that. If it starts to smell sour, you need to up your game, right? So, um, kind of follow those simple instructions. Start small, pillowcase size, maybe a few pounds at a time, and learn how to do it that way. Again, I'm looking for a good barley contact where I can buy it from a farmer cheap as dirt. Until then, I'm buying it already malted, but I do malt wheat, which is very, very similar. So, I'm basically, a lot of the same. So let me see if I got any other pictures here that will be beneficial. Um, this shows kind of a picture of the acrospire and the radicals coming off there, the chits and the rootlets. And there's that aileron layer that we talk about, that layer that holds a lot of the alpha and the beta glucanase, the endogenic alpha and beta glucanase in the actual seeds themselves. So those are of course important, and the gas exchange. So um, good little picture there of the seed. That's kind of like the kernel I showed a couple of or last week. So that's basically the malting process. Do you have any questions? I'm trying to read through here now. I'll go back and malted wheat's great too. I malt my wheat, so it's really good. Yeah, and I agree. In spring and fall, probably the best times to do it if you don't have a place inside to do it. But if you've got a fairly, large area, like in a laundry room with a vinyl floor or something, that it doesn't mind getting a little moist, or a tile floor or something that it doesn't hurt getting moist, or a large bathtub that you can spread it out. It can't get real deep. So if you're doing it in something like that, you'll have to turn it. The deeper it is, the more you got to turn it to keep the lower layer from building up heat, because it's exothermic as it does this. So you need to stir it up and keep those CO2 gases from getting trapped underneath, and keep it aired out. But it's basically, you're just germinating seeds. What's going on, Gip? Good to see you, brother. But yeah, if you can do it inside, that's perfect. If you can start it outside in warmer climate, and then go inside when you do that second, and then go back outside for that final dry, that works fine. Yeah. Well, once you get the wine master, beer's a different nature, a different thing. I've not done beer other than just grains for distilling. So I'm making a beer technically, but as far as adding hops, I've never fooled with that at all. Never been interested, because I'm not a beer drinker. I may do it someday just to try it, just to see, but hops are pretty expensive. So maybe, I don't know, on a small scale, we'll give her a try sometime. But I'm not a big beer drinker. If I did it, it'd just be for, friends to try. What's going on, Dexter? Good to see you, brother. Doing great. How about yourself? We did a little bit. So let me scroll on down here, see if anybody. I was caught up. That co-pilot. Oh, I know what you're talking about. The Seleptal. Yeah. Yeah, it does. Looks like a big boner, doesn't it? But the endosperm is inside there. I don't think it ejects the endosperm though, like some might think. Yingling, yeah. I've always drank Boilermakers. I did drink a lot of beer growing up. I've talked about that. If I didn't want to get drunk and I just wanted a social drink, I drink beer. And a lot of my buddies like sitting around drinking beer, just a social drink without getting drunk and stupid. So we drink beer and then we'd throw it at road signs on the way home. Select Island scrotum, yeah. That's seed porn, man. That's that. That's that seed porn. But as far as also, I had some questions about last week or Saturday. We talked about diastatic power, and I did show a complex grain bill, and I did mention I'd simplify it. So we're going to do just a 10-gallon corn mash, which will use 20 pounds of grain, right? So we talked about the magic number 30. So if we're going to use 20 pounds of corn, we know we need 600 diastatic power. So to get 600 diastatic, we just take 600 and divide it by 160, since if we're using 6-row, which is a typical diastatic power of 6-row. So we're going to need 3.75 pounds of 6-row. But when you add 4 pounds additional, that's 120 more, right? Because we got to have the diastatic for the grain itself. So that's going to add another 120 to it. So we can add the 600 plus the 120 equals 720. Now we can divide that by the 30. And so, yeah, it's going to be about right. Might want to do a little bit more. They say 30 to 35 is the number per pound. So you just look at the degrees Lintner of whatever you're using. So 2-row is going to be 140, 6-row is going to be 160, and like a wheat, malted wheat is going to be 180, right? So a little bit more. So you can kind of go by that, and that tells you how many degrees Lintner each of those have. Now, that'll be on your malt package that you get. If you malt yourself, it's kind of a guessing game. If you're under modified, you're going to need to use a lot more. You're going to need to use a higher percentage because it's under modified. You're not going to have all that diastatic. If you're fully modified, then you're going to be pretty close to that number. But again, it's a percentage of how many of those have that acrospire, 75% its way up that grain, right? So it's just a little vein that sneaks its way up the vein, and you can open it up and look inside if you can't see it on the outside and see how long that acrospire is getting. So if you get most all 95% of yours is 75%, you've got a fully modified, which is hard to do. For us, it's hard to do. For a malt house, they got it down to literally a science. They know exactly the temperatures, the moisture content. They know they've got it down, man. They're good. For us, just consider it probably going to be under modified, and you're going to have to use a little bit more than normal to get the job done. But now that we've got the liquid high temp amylase and the liquid glucose, we can worry less about that and experiment and play and not sweat the details, right? Because if it's not fully malted, we can still use a little bit of the enzymes, exogenous enzymes, and get us to where we need to be. And again, we can now start using 2-row and our own malted under modified 2-row and get more flavor and not really, sweat. Do I have the high percentage? So generally speaking, to get that 30 to 35 number, you're going to need about 20% of your grain bill is going to have to be a 6-row. About 25% is going to be a 2-row. that's just an easy number to remember. And it might be slight overkill. It might be really close. But if you use a little bit of your liquid, glucose and liquid high temp alpha, you're going to be fine. So it's a little less critical, but just remember the magic number 30, and you need 30 degrees Lintner per pound. So, but don't forget to add the weight of that malt that you're using back to it, right? So we started out with 20 pounds of corn, and 20 times 30, 600. But it tells us we're going to need, almost 3 pounds, which is pretty close. That's pretty close, 20% at 160. And so, but you got to add that 3 pounds in. So that's another 180, 3 times 90, 3 times the 30 is 90. So you're going to have to add that back in, and you're going to have to get 90 more, right, to cover that. So you'll just have to keep inching it up until you get the right combo, or just throw some liquid in there or overdo it. There's nothing wrong with overdoing it, but you don't want to underdo it because you're not going to get a full conversion. All right, Mitch, have a good one, brother. Thanks for joining in. Yeah, the turbo yeast, they have the nutrients built into them. And a lot of times more nutrients than what you need, which is a lot of time what causes a lot of the off flavors. So a lot of the yeast that actually goes into turbo is not bad. It's just the other shit they put in there to make it super efficient for making fuel that is not so good, because they don't care about flavor, because your engine doesn't care about flavor. It cares about octane. So as long as it's got that octane, that's all it cares about. So, that's the reason why turbo yeast generally aren't that good for distilling. I know some people swear by them. They do a really quick, clean, fast fermentation, but maybe not so clean. They're not going to be the best. It's going to produce some off flavors. A lot of these inorganic acids I was talking about earlier that create some off flavors and odors. They don't care about that, because that doesn't carry over in the distillation as far as an engine is concerned, because the engine doesn't taste it. Yeah, but it will do itself, but it's the leftovers. So what we're talking about when we're talking about degrees Lintner, and it does, that's why we can use rye, wheat, barley all do a lot more than just itself. Corn will barely do itself if it's malted perfectly and not quite fully, maybe 95%. But if it's not fully modified, malted, it doesn't even really have enough for itself. So, that's to consider. But yeah, the reason that the wheat, the barley, and the rye can do more than their own weight, that's why we only need 20% of them, because they've got that extra diastatic that can also work on the other grains, right? But we can't forget themselves when we start adding them back in. So when we start with that 20 pounds of corn, and we say, okay, 20 pounds times 30, that's the 600. So we just need something that's going to bring it up to 600. So we say 600 divided by 30, and we know, okay, that's 20. Okay, so we got 20 pounds of corn, and we know that each of those is going to require 30. So that's 600. And then we divide. So if we use a 6 row, that's 160. So divided by 160, we know we need 3.75 pounds of that 6 row. But if we add 3.75 pounds of that 6 row, a certain percentage of that 30 is going to be used for that barley, right, for itself. So we have to figure that back in. So we'll do 3.75 times 30, which gives us 112 more that we've got to add for. So, another pound or so of that, and we'll have enough, right? So we got to always allow for that additional grain that you're adding to the grain bill, because you no longer have 20, you now have 23.75, right? So 23.75 times 30 All of a sudden now we need 712.5 divided by 160. So now that 3.75 is now 4.45, or almost 4.5 pounds. So I think once you get to about 5, then you're going to be pretty close to being perfect, which is also 20%, so of the original, the weight, right? So 20 to 25%. So that works out pretty well. So if you can do, 20 or so percent on your fully modified 160 barley, or 6 row, or 180 wheat, then you're good to go. Or maybe closer to 25% if you're using a 2-row barley, because it's going to have a little lower diastatic. It's not so bad to go over. You definitely doesn't hurt a thing to go over, except might change your flavor a little bit to have a higher percentage of malt. But as far as diastatic wise, once you get enough, over excess won't hurt anything. Yeah, it definitely gives it a better flavor, but it's just a pain in the ass to work with, Joe. It's most people just don't feel it's worth. You can do them both ways, and a really trained tongue palate can taste a slight difference. Probably most of us, when it's 100 proof or better, we will. I don't know that we'd taste the difference, but it does give it a better flavor, a little smoother product. But it's just such a pain in the ass to work with, and a lot of people will, if they're going to use malted corn like that, they won't depend on it as much. They'll do a lot of corn unmalted, and they'll use the high temp alpha to break it up and get it, and then they'll add that corn at about the same time they're adding barley and other stuff malted, and using and not really gelatinizing it properly, because we starched that out of something else, right? So we got all the starches out of something else, but we're going to use this malted corn more as a flavor and an amylase source than we are as a starch source to convert. So, that works that way. But it's not as efficient, and, it's okay to do that way. But as far as malting 100% and trying to cook it, you'll never get good conversions, and it takes forever to cook. And it's just not the way to go these days, for sure. But yeah, to use a little bit of malted corn along with your malted barley and malted rye and malted wheat at 150, 45 to 55 in that range. Yeah, absolutely. It'll change the flavor. Yeah, it is a lot. It takes forever, and it never gets fully gelatinized properly, and it never gives you a good conversion. So you end up having to use more, and it's just not efficient. Like I say, if you can malt like 10 or 20% of your corn, and then add that along with some barley malt and other stuff, and add the high percentage of gelatinized corn, you can get a decent product that way, and enough efficiency where you'll make it worth your time and trouble to get your liquor. You don't want to go to all this trouble and just get a shot glass liquor that's really high quality. You definitely want to kind of be a happy medium. It's not that great a difference. You'll see a greater difference in conversion and not using sugar than you will from, well, I don't know. Malts produce a different flavor, but as far as malted corn versus a malted barley or wheat, I think you'll notice a malted barley or wheat more than you would that same percentage of malted corn added to. But if you do an all malted corn, yeah, it's going to have a different flavor. Yeah. But it's it's all about flavor. Yeah, it's not about conversion at all, because it's very inefficient. It's the way, but it's very, very inefficient, and it's good, but it produces low. And in the end of it, is it worth the 8 to 10 hour cook time? trying to cook corn and getting it gelatinized as much as you can at 150 degrees, cooking it for 8 to 10, 12 hours. That's a lot of cook time, man, without scorching. And you ain't going to steep it. You can't steep it so you have to cook it. And it's hard to do it that long without scorching. And of course, you're doing a lower heat, which isn't going to tend to scorch as much. But yeah, it's tough, man. It's who wants to sit over a pot all day and stir? I mean, they used to do that, man. They made apple butter and shit back in the day. They used to bring in the whole crowd, and everybody take turns stirring, to keep it from scorching and sticking and burning, and everybody would take an hour or so, 30 minutes to an hour to stir, and it'd take all day, and they basically do the same thing for cooking a malted corn mash. It's a lot of work. It ain't worth it. Yeah, definitely. Wheat, it gives it a good sweetness, especially a good malted wheat, and oats definitely smooths it out, gives it a creamy. Yeah, it's awesome, money. I love it. I always thought oats in there, and I'm a wheat freak. I like the wheat, sweet wheat. You can get a grassy if you don't malt it. It can kind of get to a little bit grassy, sweet grassy flavor. I don't mind that as much. I like it better than a rye. I don't mind a little bit of rye and spice, but I like the sweet flavor that a wheat gives it. Yeah, yeah, and I'm definitely gonna get some of that because I'm gonna do some definitely some all wheat. I want to do an all wheat vodka, and I know I'm going to definitely need it for that. And I'm probably get at one point going to do a single malt with the barley and do a single malt with scotch. I guess. Yeah, that's what I did. I started out thin mash with sugar and cornmeal. Did that for a long, long time. Long, long time in a keg still. And I got to where I was good at it, man. I can definitely make some what most would consider fairly smooth thin mash. But yeah, you got to be careful too, like we were talking about um, on those grains. Always make sure that you look at your grains and inspect them. Hopefully your farmers will be doing this, and that most of the farmers know, and they know to go out there and look because they don't want to get sued and lose the farm, right? But you start selling lots of grains with fusarium on it or ergo, you definitely, once some animals start dying and people start getting sick and tripping and doing all these things, you can get in a lot of trouble. So that ergo, man, that's what the ergo does. Your body, it constricts your blood flow, and in the blood flow constriction, they call it St. Andrew's fire. Now, St. Elmo's fire, that's an electrical discharge thing, but this is called St. Andrew's fire. And back in the day, these monks I told you about in the Middle Ages, around I think 1100 AD, these monks would treat a lot of people with this. I think they called it ergothicity or something. It's an ergotism or ergotism. Yeah, that's what it is. Ergotism. And when people would eat this, they didn't know, but that this grain with the little black things in it, and it's a fungus. It's different than a fusarium. It's a different fungus, but um, they didn't know that was what was causing it. So all of a sudden they cut all the barley, rye, and wheat out of their diets, and it went away, right? But these monks would treat these people that got these sicknesses, and they were like, they were messed up in the head. They were getting psychosis and lots of different problems with it. Now, this isn't to be confused with smut, right? On corn, that's different. That's a different fungus entirely. It's different. Actually, that can be considered a good thing. But this is called ergo, and they were tripping on it, and it would constrict your blood flow in your veins so much that the blood flowing through it would feel like fire burning, in your body. And a lot of the people were basically tripping. And there's I guess there's certain chemicals that you can, you know, yeah, similar to that. I can't talk about. The chat can talk about it. I just can't because I'm held to a different standard. And somebody just said that in chat. I can't control what chat says, right? So, um, yeah, I didn't say anything about that, right? But yeah, it very very similar. In fact, I think that the diethylamide that can be kind of synthesized from that. Corn smut is considered a delicacy in a lot of cultures and stuff, and a lot of people. Yeah, it's definitely good for you. Yeah, it's sugar shine's fine. It's got a little bit of heat to it, but if you run it through a column still and post flavor, you know, people don't notice it that much. When you proof it down to below 80, they don't feel that bite as much. Let's see if I got any pictures of corn smut. I don't know if I got corn smut pics or not. Uh, Smut doesn't sound too good though, does it? Smutty corn. But the fusarium, I think, actually is not but definitely not as bad as the ergo. But it'll make you sick. Yeah, I don't see it. I got too many pictures. I need to break these up. All right, off to Google we go for a pic of ergo. Yeah, I've been looking at them tables too, Joe. They got some nice stainless steel. I've been looking at quite a few of those tables, and I like that one's got a drain in it. Is that right? Is that got a drain? Can you take? Oh, that is a drain table. Oh hell yeah, that's pretty nice. Yeah, the ones I've been looking at have a solid smooth surface. I was thinking about uh, using as a work table and a cutting table and everything kind of grilling table, everything table kind of deal. Let me get a picture of corn smut. I like that table though. Yeah, here we go. Let's get some images. Yeah, there's some good pictures of it. Looks like, looks horrible. I mean, it looks like something that's just totally gross. You're not gonna want to eat it, right? But actually, it is a delicacy. And supposedly really, really good for you. Just want to make sure it's cooked well. Don't eat it raw. But this is a typical smut on corn. So it's smutty corn porn. Terrible. Corn porn smut. But that's what it looks like. Looks like basically little mushrooms growing out of it. But there are different mushrooms that grow out of corn other than smut. But that's typical corn smut. And it's a delicacy. And I can't remember what they call it in Spanish. It's mojito or something. I can't remember. It starts with an M. Mojito, maybe something like that. Maybe some people in there that eat a lot of Spanish food may know the name of it and pronounce it. I think it's like a mojito or something. But yeah, it's considered a delicacy. Definitely not something that looks very appetizing, though, is it? I think the Native Americans used this medicinally as well. Um, so I'm not sure how they prepared it, but they actually used it for treating wounds. They would somehow modify it in a way that would help bring on forced labor, right? To induce labor. They used it for a lot of different things medicinally. Anxiety is an anti-anxiety drug. They used it for a lot of different things. But yeah, that's look at all those little white, little mushroom-looking things. Let me see if I can get a little better picture of it. That's a pretty good picture though. Let's see. There's some really gross ones. Here's this one. Look at this one. Now, I'm not eating that one. That first one looked kind of, edible. This one out here, man, I don't know. Maybe this is the shit they were using to induce labor. Maybe there's some mushrooms and some magical stuff growing in this that they were using. But yeah, it was used for a lot of different medicinal purposes. Look at that shit, man. Ain't no way. Look at that. That's gross looking. I think the first one looked kind of okay, but that, I don't know. We look like we got a lot going on there. A lot more than just smut, right? Oh yeah. Yeah, they love it down there, man. It's a delicacy, But so are those slugs, that they eat in the jungle. You see them eat on Survivor, they'll dig through these rotten trees and pull out these big long grubs. They'll boil them up and eat them up. I'd have to be off hungry. Not saying I wouldn't. Is it? I don't know that I've ever eaten corn smut. It's never been something my granny put on the table. I'm gonna do some. I'm gonna do some wheat vodka, but I've got some tater vodka going now. Actually, I need to run. Yeah, I was getting potatoes for $1 for a 5-pound bag. So 20 cents a pound. It's kind of hard to not make some vodka when you get those kind of deals, And it's good store bought, high quality, potatoes, not a bunch of raggedy shit that was, secondhand stuff. It was nice, good quality potatoes. Does it? It does. Different people, different ways. Some people like it, some people don't. That's why a lot of people prefer a corn vodka or a wheat vodka. Yeah, you got that right, man. I saw on Facebook, it was on some of these reels. It was showing some of these tribal people, I guess, in Africa and stuff, and got this monkey stew, and this monkey with a head sticking in the stew, and its head popped up, and you can see its teeth, and that expression, it looked like they threw it in there live. And then they show them pictures of the kids, holding the monkey, just gnawing at it and going to town on it, I mean, I guess for them that's a delicacy and awesome, and like a barbecue for us, to each their own. Just freeze it. You can freeze it, put it in the freezer. That's why I like to get my corn in the fall and put it in get one of these barrels that have the lids that seal, that they use for medicines and stuff, because they have a really good seal on them, and you can store your grains in those for pretty long periods of time. Perfectly dry, even outside. Just keep it in the shade. But yeah, get your corn in the fall, put it in one of those. Once the freezing temperatures come, it'll kill every one of them weevils, and every one of their what are they? The larvae. It'll kill everything, and then all the next year you don't have to worry about any weevils getting in your corn supply. And then use that all year, and then next year in the fall buy your year's supply and keep it stored that way. And as long as it's super dry and you don't get any moisture in it all. Now it's got to be one of these that have a good seal, and mine have that locking strap on it. I mean, it seals tight as a drum. I've kept corn in one for well over a year. So they keep good and dry, but keep them in the shade in a storage building or something in the shade. That'd be fine. Yeah, if it's not a big population, it's just you can rake it through and get them out if you want to. Sit there and pick them out if you got a little bit. But if you're doing a lot, it's yeah. The weevils aren't gonna just don't tell anybody while they're drinking it, and they won't think about it and it won't bother anybody. But I generally don't like the thought of it, but you know, I've drank wine that had fruit flies all in it, and hopefully that didn't, before I got the acetobacter. So I learned the hard way about, using the airlocks and all that. Yeah, but the weevils, it's not going to be a big issue. Yeah, that's what they say about mushrooms. They say, is that an edible mushroom? Well, they're all edible. It's just how long are you going to live after you eat it, right? So I don't really trust going out into the wild and foraging for mushrooms, even though I know what the looks of each one are. But yeah, I don't think so. Dried pinto beans shine. No, but you could definitely do it. I mean, they've got the starch in them. Let me see what the starch content is. I know they got a pretty good. But you'll cook those and use amylase in them just like you would anything. The high temp alpha and yeah, they got plenty of starch in them. But let's see what it takes to gelatinize a pinto bean. Because you'll gelatinize it, so you're going to get the starch out of it to convert. It's the same. You must heat soaked or hydrated beans in water above 176 degrees. So instead of the 185 for 90 minutes, you're going to go 176, probably for less time. I doubt it's going to be full. Well, now let's see. Soak the beans 4 to 8 hours or overnight. That softens them up. And then apply the heat. Heat it to the 175, 180 for 60 to 90 minutes. So it's a lot like corn. So yeah, you'll gelatinize those just like you will corn, pretty much 60 to 90 minutes at 180, 85. Then you'll put your high temp amylase in there just the same as follow the same numbers. I'm not sure that you're going to get as much sugars out of that as what a corn would do. So maybe start with 3 pounds, right? 3 pounds per gallon, maybe, and see what that does. And then use the old hydrometer and see what you got. And then next time you can adjust if it's really thick, and hard to work with. But yeah, the only difference is this: you're going to want to soak it overnight to break those up because I guess you're not grinding them up like we would a corn, before you run it. So it's considered a full bean. But I would definitely want to mash them up. So maybe when you stir them with that paint mixer, make sure you macerate well with it, right, and bake those up. I don't know I guess you could probably just grind them up though if they were dried. That'd be fine. Run them through a grinder just the same. But yeah, cook them. Just do it just like corn. Yeah, I don't. I've not trusted myself to forge out. At one time, I thought about getting some, hardwood and doing the shiitake and the hardwoods and stuff. But I don't know. Maybe I just buy them from the store. They're not real expensive, and I don't eat a lot of them. Yeah, morels, but there's fake morels too. So you got to look at the insides to make sure that they're the hollow ones that are bad and the full ones. There's vice versa. The hollow ones are good, and the full ones are bad. So you got anytime you do the morels, you got to cut them in half to see because if it's hollow inside, I think if it's hollow inside, it's good. I want to make sure I get this right because there is a false morel that's toxic and can cause severe illness. So I want to. Let me tap this. How to tell if if I could just type or slice it if completely in half. True morels is entirely hollow. So the good ones are hollow. The false ones are filled. So the good ones are hollow. I want to make sure that I got that right because I didn't want to get it back and somebody like, oh well, Santa said the hollow ones are bad, the full ones are good because huge difference and they look a lot alike, but once you look at pictures of the both, you'll definitely be able to tell. But a lot of times it's kind of hard. So every person that I read about that eats them and stuff and talk to, slice them open. Look, if it's hollow inside, you're good to go. If it's full inside and spongy, forget about it because it's bad. So I want to make sure I got that right. But yeah, the hollow ones is safe. Wow. Robitussin Shine. I don't even. I like the sound of a Robitussin wine. Maybe I like the combination there. It might be pretty good. All right, brother. We'll be there, man. So again, I think it's shit. What was the time on that? Friday night and Saturday night. I'm gonna be doing a Q&A. And let's see. I'll make sure I give everybody the right time. So yeah, Friday night will be 9:30 till whatever time. We'll just kind of hang out. If there's a lot of people, we'll sit there. I did this last year, and crazy enough, last year I met some people that watch my podcast. So I was sitting there just waiting on somebody to come by. Wasn't a lot of people. They were in the festival. They were going to the food things. They were listening to music, doing everything, drinking, going to all the different vendors. But there wasn't a lot of people. I don't know how well it was advertised. Hopefully this year we'll have more people, more participation. But it's strangely enough, the people that showed up were from Louisville and watched my podcast. And they were one of the 90%, I guess, that didn't watch it live or that never spoke up during the podcast. They might be watching now. But it was fun talking to them, and they already knew pretty much the whole spiel, everything I was going to say and talk about it. But it was good to sit and chat with them and meet some people that watch the podcast. I had no idea that they never chimed in, so that was cool. But anyway, 9:30 to whatever time Friday night, and then Saturday night 7 to 8. Hopefully before Mary Cutter comes on because I want to catch her act. She's pretty cool, Kentucky gal. A lot of you know her from her Moonshine song about the church, Granddaddy Church. That was a shiner. Pretty good song. She has pretty good folk songs, country kind of. Yeah. She's Kentucky gal though. I think from Bardstown area. So that's definitely whiskey country there. Bourbon country. Well, you never know. And pinto beans might make some pretty good shine. I've heard some people make pretty good shine out of some strange things. We've taught them kudzu, you know. Yeah, there's I've got some of the little puffy balls, white balls that are supposedly good, and I got the kind of yellowish orange, you know, chicken kind of growing around out in the woods behind the house. But I've taken pictures of them and posted. Oh yeah, those are those are good. Get them and eat them. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think so, bro. Not that fucking hungry. But it's good to know if if famine strikes and I'm starving to death and I've gone through all my food and beans and everything I've got stored, then you know if I've eaten every dog in the neighborhood, I might eat them mushrooms next. I'm definitely not going to go there first. That's definitely a good way to get sick. Yeah, I said every dog because that'll be you get hungry enough for those dogs and cats start looking tasty once you kill all the squirrels and I'd probably just soon eat a cat as a rat, right? I don't know. I think cat's probably a little cleaner than a rat. Now my cat's probably saying, "Oh, did you hear what he said?" Dry land fish, hog nose, yep. Yeah, yeah, I do that a lot. I just use staves, man. You can just get the old staves and char all six sides of it, the block, and drop it down in there. I do that a lot. It's as good as spirals and a lot of stuff. But you can mix in that soluble oak to add some unique flavors to it. Uh, or you can get Big Beard and Steel Wheels steeping bags. Those are good too. Got to try them. I've tried some liquor with them in it, but I've not tried them out. They gave me a package to try, and I've been slacking. I got so much shit to do before firing a bottle. I got trying to get people on here to. I got to replace my roof. I got to deal with the insurance company. My roofer wants me to try to put in a claim to the manufacturer and all this shit. And it's just so much shit, and I got other stuff I'm dealing with. So it's I'm busier than I've ever been. I'm not working half as much as I used to, so it's crazy. Oh, I'd say they made some bean with. They've made it out of everything, Curtis. Everything, man. If it can be converted, they've done it, man. I'm telling you. So that may be like the crawdad shine. There might not have been people doing crawdad shine until they did that, or my big thing was my daughter asked me. She was in when she was in school. She was talking about worms and how they breed and all that, and I explained to her how they're asexual and how they breed and everything. So I started reading more about it, and the necker that they put off, NECAR necker, is like that slimy stuff they put off. That's actually very, very high in starches, right? So you could technically, and it's used a lot in the cosmetic industry and a lot of other things as well. So you could actually convert that and make some worm ooze shine. Just saying, that's probably, I mean, that's how far outside the box you have to get to do something that's unique that nobody's ever done. Because I mean, every vegetable, every seed plant, just about everything you can imagine has been tried. Maybe not crawdads, that was kind of a new one to me. But yeah, I mean, you have to get worm slime crazy to think of something that's never been tried. Carolina Reaper shine, yeah, that's I don't know. Let's see if there's enough. I know the capsaicin isn't, but let's see how much starch is. Not a lot of starch. But it does have water-soluble simple sugars and maybe some fiber that could be converted with the right amylase. But it does have some fructose and glucose, giving the pepper a fruity baseline flavor before the intense heat hits. So let's see sugar content instead of starch. And I have to Google this because I don't know everything, and I damn sure don't know the sugar. It helps if you spell it right. Sugar content of things like this. Yeah, there's not a lot. Not a lot. So it's going to be something that's going to, you'd have to use a lot of sugar along with it. And then you're basically making a sugar shine with, the heat and what flavor that the peppers bring with it, which not necessarily a bad thing, but good God, it'd probably tear your gut up, man. Absolutely. And you can make shine with it too. And it's like the mountain olives. There's a lot of different things. Hell yeah, I eat a lot of Chinese food. I love Chinese food. Chinese buffet. Saying these barrel staves, it's awesome. I agree, man. And I think you get a little bit of the whiskey, right? That's soaked into that wood. I think it leaches out and gives you a little bit of that flavor, too. So if you can get a good quality whiskey barrel, from a good quality booze, it definitely doesn't hurt. But I just take mine and I've got a little MAP gas tank sitting around here. And I take that. It's probably a lot cheaper to use propane. I just didn't have any propane, so I'm using my MAP gas. I probably should just use propane because you don't need that kind of high temperature. But I'll just get me here is the vice grips that I use. I just clip that wood, and you can see the little burn ends on it. And I'll char all 6 sides of that stave. Drop it in a little thing of water because it'll be burning when you're done. You want it to catch on fire. And drop it in a little bit of water, take it out, let it sit, and then drop it in some liquor. Does a great job. Absolutely does good. Yep. Little 2-inch by 2-inch piece. Absolutely, brother. Matter of fact, I might just have a. Well, let's see. Which one has it in it? Well, shit. It's going to be the last jar I pick up. Yeah, it was. But yeah, you can see some staves in the bottom of that. So those have been used. This is the 4th time, so it's been quite a while on this, and it's really slow. But you can get it. So that'd be actually the 5th use. So the first use was at the distillery. I got the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. 3 uses out of it. This is the 5th use. So by then, it's not so great, but still working, But the first ones, just watch it. It depends on, if you just use 1 2x2 and in a quart, a few days and it's ready. Just watch your color and sip it every once in a while and check it. But hell yeah, I agree, Overcome. Yeah, that's right. So you're getting some of that prior spirit. So if you get that high quality barrel, you know, and if it doesn't necessarily have the heads on it, that's what everybody wants, is that head that says, Pappy's or, Blanton's or something, that a lot of people consider a top shelf or a better bourbon. So they love those heads, but the staves don't have a name. So I get mine that are Buffalo Trace, so they're pretty decent tasting staves. That's awesome, brother. You got a nice, cheap source. Well, not cheap. It's a lot of work, but not a lot of expense other than your labors, which is a lot. Yeah. I've got a buddy of, what's going on, brother? Yeah, we were just talking about that. I do need to post a little something here. Hold on a minute. I was just on the page. I was just cussing you then. I was like, damn it, he don't have that picture out yet. I was going to post it on here, but it's not on the Farm to Bottle page yet. Let me see if it's on the Foundation page. No, but I will. I had it on my phone, but I didn't. Okay, yeah, I can cut this out here. Yeah, let me click on it, open it up, and so on Friday, or is that Saturday? All right, cool. So are we still going to do the Friday class at 8 or 9:30 or? So everybody's got to go to Farm to Bottle this weekend. Did they? Well, the picture wasn't that bad. I mean, it just, I don't know. Once I go AI, I guess I look a little more like Santa than I think I do, but it wasn't all that bad. But let me go ahead and post one of these for people that that want to come and know when and where. So let me get that up. All right, Farm to Bottle this weekend, 28th, 29th. Again, I will probably at 9:30 on Friday, and after going to do a little Q&A, and then again on Saturday at 7 to 8. I think before Mary Cutter, because I want to definitely want to catch her act. I liked it with the pictures on there. I will say that. You probably cussing me out now. Yeah, I wish I had this to share. Let's see. Can I do? I'm gonna share this one. The times didn't change, did they? From the first one you sent me, no, it's the same. I'm gonna use the one with the picture in it though. Let's see. So, Distiller Woody not going to be with us on Friday night? And then Saturday, not going to do it at all? Well, now, hell. So, we're not going to do it at all on Saturday, just Friday night? Woody coming? So hopefully Woody can hang around after the yeast thing. He's very knowledgeable. I'd like to have him with us. I'd like to also talk to him about coming on here sometime. So I know. All right, let me see here. Let me get you this link. Message me on Facebook. On Facebook Messenger instead of my phone. So I can send it to you. Let's see. Let me pull you up this way. There you go, brother. Follow that link. There we go. All right. Let me bring you in here and shit.
Hey, what's happening?
There we go. That's better. So everybody's Gray, the director of Farm to Bottle Festival, coming up this weekend. Welcome to the chat, brother.
I figured I'd just get on here and explain the education thing to you.
Good deal.
So,
I see it's changed a little bit, but
yeah, it's changed a little bit. I did away with that Q&A thing on Saturday because one of the classes is going to take quite a while. So I just moved his to the end. That step mash class is going to take an hour and a half or more to do that because it's pretty extensive. So,
and that's Woody doing that, or
that will be Wayne. Woody is doing
Wayne's
a
good.
yeast class one day. He's doing a what's the other one?
Yeast propagation.
Yeah, he's doing yeast propagation one day, and then he's doing malted grains the other day. So I can't remember which is which.
Good. We talked a bit about that tonight.
And I had one cancel out, so I kind of adjusted times and tried to give people a little bit more time. You'll still have the same thing on Friday from 9:30 to 11, and we're going to Facebook Live that. But and any of those, if you want to get in there, I'm sure Wayne would like anybody additional to help him as well.
Don't mind loudmouth Santa in there.
But yeah, you know, we got a lot of good classes and stuff. I tried to put the non-alcohol related stuff earlier in the day. I'm actually doing a class with somebody on. She's going to do like canning food and stuff like that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
And I'm going to help her do a thing on making vanilla, homemade vanilla.
Cool. And other tinctures for that matter, yeah.
It'll be a make and take thing too. You'll be able to get
both worlds, you know, and little tinctures with some shine and some, you know, holistic.
Well, I'm gonna do two or three kinds there. With the vanilla, I'm gonna do a bourbon vanilla, and I'm gonna do one with just using plain old vodka, and I think I'm gonna do one with moonshine as well. So it's like some actual moonshine.
Cool.
So we'll do those, and there'll be a make and take thing where they'll get a little 4-ounce bottle to take home with them. It'll have a start using by date. So we'll date it out about 6 months, so it has plenty of time to actually turn into some good vanilla. So
cool. But yeah, we did a lot. We talked about malting tonight, actually. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I actually kind of want to get in on that class if I got time because I'm kind of interested in
it's definitely good to learn. I kind of did a brief, you know, malting process. You know, it can be pretty complex, but it's not too bad once you know what you're looking for,
right?
And you know that acrospire. You know, knowing when that acrospire gets to 75% the length of the grain, you know that's when it's time to go ahead and dry it, because if you allow it to go any further, a lot of your enzyme production gets lost, right? And so does the starch in the grain itself. So just like corn, you know, when you watch that radical come out, you want to get it at a 1/4 inch, because if it gets long, you know, a lot of that amylase is consumed, a lot of energy from that endosperm or starch to put that radical out further than it needed to be. So all we're trying to do is activate those amylases in there, and endogenic amylases in there, to get them activated so we'll be able to use them as a diastatic conversion. Yep.
And as far as
that'd be awesome.
as far as Woody being with you at the end of the night, he'll still be on there. I don't know if I stuck him
Yeah,
back
I'd
in
like
there or
for him to
not.
join us. He's very knowledgeable. You know,
Yeah, I
I'd
can't
like
remember
to.
if I stuck it back in there. I edited that damn thing so many times last night.
Yeah.
That,
Well, try to put him in there. If not, you know,
oh
talk
yeah,
to
he
him. And
definitely said he would do it. I just forgot to put his name back in the Q&A
yeah,
thing at the end. So
yeah, I like. You know, I've enjoyed watching his podcast, especially on the yeast. Very knowledgeable. You know, on yeast propagation. Actually, I want to get him and Amanda and Alan on here and do a little podcast on yeast propagation and maybe some other things. You know, maybe some
yeah,
malting. We'll do another little thing on malting, and maybe he can kind of fill in some blanks. You know, that I may have. So
right.
that'd
Yeah,
be nice.
sounds
Yeah,
good.
yeah, I've watched him. He's very knowledgeable. He knows his stuff. So
We
he'll
got
be
some
good.
really cool drinks that we're going to be doing. I sent you a picture of them.
I like the sound of that.
I've been playing mixologist here the last day or two, and
Awesome.
one we've done before is caramel apple moonshine cider,
I've tried that last time I was up here.
and we use local Pabst Hilltop Distilleries caramel apple moonshine, and then I've
Right.
got and right up the street from him there's an apple orchard, so all of that stuff, everything in that drink will be local right to this area.
Awesome.
And then
Well,
I
didn't you have
decided.
some caramel apple shine that you did?
Yes, I got some that I made
Yeah.
too. I think you tried it
Yeah.
out at my place last year.
Yeah, I did.
And then I've got a pumpkin roll shot that I made today, kind of came up with, and it's got like pumpkin spice, vanilla, and rum chata in it, and it
Awesome.
tastes just like a pumpkin roll.
Awesome. That's cool, man.
And
That's
then
cool.
that with that one, it'll be a $10 shot, but you get a farm to bottle shot glass, and they're the nice, sturdy, square shot glasses, the thick ones.
Right.
So for $10, you get the shot. You get to
I
take the
remember
glass
last
with
year
you.
you had those little the wood that looked like the
Yeah, I've
wood
got a
nickels
handful
that
of
were
those still.
carved out and
Yep.
charred. I thought that was cool as shit, man.
Yeah,
I still
those
got
are.
mine. That's
I
cool.
wish the guy that made those for me would have been able to do some more of them, but I ain't been able to catch. I ain't been able
I'm
to get him
sure,
to
you
do
know,
them.
I'm sure they do that with one of those little laser cutters.
Yeah, his are made with
kind
the
of thing.
laser cutter. Just getting him to actually do it has been the problem.
Yeah. But yeah, those were a pretty cool idea too, because that's something you could just throw in a jar and age with, right? Charred
Right.
little piece of wood that also I wish I had it handy. I could show it, but it's upstairs with the.
And then we got this other crazy drink that we're gonna do. So Doug from Northern Yankee Moonshine,
Doug Taylor.
Doug Taylor, he
Great
made
guy, yeah.
he made a lemon pound cake moonshine after
That
the
sounds
whole
good.
Afro Man thing went on
Right.
with the lemon pound cake. So we're doing a lemon pound cake drink that's going to be made with his moonshine, birthday cake cream moonshine, probably from Sugarlands or Old Smoky, and
Sounds
then
good.
lemonade. And I'll tell you what, I made it tonight, and it turned out really good. Tastes like
Awesome.
lemon pound cake. So
Awesome, man. That's cool as hell. Yeah, I look forward to getting hammered and having a hangover. I'll be fucked up.
that's the
next
good thing.
week,
You don't
man.
have far to go once you're there. You can
Yeah.
walk across the driveway, and you're at your camper.
Right, exactly. Or my tent. So
Or your tent.
I'm primitive. You got me a sight handy?
Dude, yeah, absolutely. I sleep in my damn car every year.
And well, I've car camped before. Last time, well, not last year, but the year before last, I car camped at Maggie Hill. I don't care, you know.
Yep.
I'm going to do that I'm going to pay $200 for a 2-star hotel room, you know.
Right. Well, the good thing is on those campsites we got.
There ain't no bed bugs on my car seat. I tell you
right.
that.
No doubt. The campsites that we have, they allow one camper on the campsite, but you can put
3 tents.
Or you can do 3 tents on it.
Right,
so
right.
we can condense some people onto those,
Yeah,
and that
absolutely.
way it ain't going to cost nobody anything extra.
Ann looks forward to it. She loves tent camping, so you know.
I don't mind. I ain't done it in several years, but I always thought it was fun back in the day.
Yeah, I thought it was a lot funner when I was younger too, but Ann still loves it. So she enjoys it. So we do it. You know, she likes getting ready for it and doing it and doing the outdoorsy thing, you know. City girl likes to get out and do little country things, you know.
Right.
For me, it's like, you know, it's okay. I just seems to sleep in the car, but whatever, babe, you know.
Same here. I'll tell you what, the last 2 years, I was glad I slept in the car. It's hotter than hell out.
Shit, yeah, it was.
This year, we're going to catch a slight break.
I know last year, Big Easy had him a freaking air conditioner zip to the opening of his damn tent. And I thought, man, that motherfucker knows how to camp now.
No
He
doubt.
plugged that bitch in, little window unit right at the door and zipped all around it. And I'm like, man, why didn't I think of that shit?
No
A
doubt.
little 120 volt window unit. It was awesome. But we're bringing a fan.
The first 3 years we had it, last year wasn't too bad there in mid-September, but first couple years I had it in late August the first year, and it was
I
like
wasn't there the first year, but I've been there every year since. So
it was 95 degrees.
Yeah, it was hot year 2.
On year 1 and year 2, when you guys came, it was 95 degrees again. After even we moved it to mid-September to try and get away from the heat, and the heat followed us.
Hot. And Beattyville was hot as fuck that year too, man. It was like 100 over 100 degrees, like hot heat index.
And then last year it got into the 90s, but it wasn't quite as hot and it wasn't quite as humid. But this week it looks like it's going to be mid 80s and sunny. So
perfect.
And then 60s at night.
The weather looks good. Yeah, that's perfect.
So should be good weather. For anybody,
Ann's a trooper. She loves it. She loves doing that and getting out and doing all that. But I hope she didn't hear me talk about the window unit.
Right.
I'll
tell you what, man.
There
ain't nothing better than getting up early in the morning on a late summer, early fall morning when it's like 60, 65 degrees out and just walking around. It feels pretty good.
Yeah, it does.
So
when the dew's still on the grass.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember last year we got up real early to go to the bathroom, and there's still drunks wandering around, sleeping on bleachers, and just wandering around. Like, okay, that is a party. It's a good time for sure. But it's what I'm amazed is how our community can have a good time like that. No fights, no trouble. Relatively no issues at all for 500 drunk people in one place, and nobody getting rowdy and out of hand. A little bit of issue from time to time, a little bit of words said, but nothing major that cops had to take anybody away. I can't remember any time the cops had to take anybody away or anything like that.
No, we've been pretty fortunate so far. We've never had any issues at the Farm to Bottle Festival at all.
Good. Yeah, all the festivals I've been to, the only person I ever saw carted out by cops was at Maggie Valley, some biker chick that just ape shit crazy, and some other girl. So other than that, I've not seen any issues.
Well, that's the way we want to keep it. Keep it that way this year too.
Yeah, we got a little air mattress, Clint. We have to fill up. It's got a little slow leak. I hate the damn thing, but Ann likes it. I don't mind it because really I sink into it and Ann just rolls over and she's right there on me, So I don't mind it for that. But man, I sink in there and my back don't feel real good, so she has to pump it up the next day. But
I'll tell you what,
we'll camp Friday night and Saturday night.
You need one of those air mattresses like what I got here. As a matter of fact, I may bring one up there if somebody wants. If you want to try it out, it's a Serta and it automatically inflates throughout the night. So if it starts getting low, it just automatically.
Oh, that's awesome! Up. Yeah, we got a small tent, so.
Yeah, this is like a king size mattress.
Yeah, we got a small tent in the small. I've got bigger tents, but this one is. I got the rain fly to it. The other one, I don't know where the rain fly is. I got a bigger one. I also got like a, I don't know what you would call it. It's kind of like a canopy, I guess, with screen all around, but it's not a tent. It's just a canopy.
Right.
It's like a cover awning canopy type thing with screen all around it. I guess you could put a tent inside that and be kind of cool. Looky there. Uh-oh. Had to bomb your photo bomb.
Yep, had to get up here and photo bomb.
Yeah, had to get in the picture there.
Are you in the picture? See yourself? Look. Wave at yourself.
Who is that? What is that? Look at that sideways look. Wait a minute. I got an imposter on here.
Yep, that's the wait a minute look. Wait a minute.
But yeah, I can't wait till this weekend, man. I did post that pic. I'll post it before we get off here, but
yeah, I'm gonna hop off here in a second anyway. But yeah, post that one up. and show the educational schedule and whatever. And I don't think
Yep.
that's going to change any between now and then. That should stay pretty static.
Okay.
So, like I said, I had one person that canceled out last night, so um, we'll just I went ahead and adjusted the schedule, and that person had said basically Wayne's going to need a whole lot more time for the mash class, so just go ahead and give him that for that step mash, because I only had like
Right.
45 minutes, and he's like, there's no way he can do that in 45 minutes.
No, it takes a while,
So,
especially when you're talking like me and Wayne
so
do.
I
You know,
I
it
moved
takes.
that step mash class all the way down to the bottom at the end of the night to give him 2 full hours to do what he wants to do.
Yeah,
So
it's and step mashing is something that's unique and different to what we do. You know, it's more starting at a low temperature and working up like beer makers do for
yeah,
higher adjunct grain mash bills than starting high at corn and working backwards like most of
right.
us are used to. So it's pretty interesting and it'd be good for a lot of people that aren't beer makers or don't have much, knowledge as far as a step mash forward and dealing with protein rests and a lot of these rests that beer makers deal with. So it'll be very interesting for a lot of people.
Well,
Be
good
good.
deal.
All right, man. Well, I guess I will see you. We might try to make it up Thursday. I'm not real hopeful. I know I'll be there Friday morning for sure.
Well, if you do, it's going to last from about 7 till about 11:30. Actually, about 6 to 11:30. The tin cap starts
On
up at six
Thursday.
o'clock. Yeah. Ricky Lee Acoustic will be over there playing from 6 to 7 at the tin
Now,
cap.
is this at the fairgrounds or downtown?
It's downtown.
Right.
He'll be over there playing acoustic at the tin cap, which is a local cidery there.
Mhm.
And then they'll go directly into doing about 2 hours of moonshine and farm to bottle trivia.
Right.
We'll have a couple of the moonshiner guys, whoever wants to show up, go over there and set for a little bit, and then we'll all go across the street when the band starts at the other place at around 7:30.
Right. So Mary Cutter, is she playing downtown or they're at the festival
No,
grounds?
she's playing at the fairgrounds on
Okay.
Saturday night.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, Thursday night's just a local band and then a
Okay,
local
so that's
acoustic
going to be
guy.
the downtown thing Thursday
Yeah,
night,
and it's
and then
it's all free to anybody that wants to come. Of course, you got to buy your drinks at the bar and whatnot, but
right.
basically, there's no charge or anything for it. So it's just kind of a thing. Honestly, I get more people from out of town and out of state than we do in Wilmington, and it's kind of more of a thing to go down there and maybe try and get the word out in Wilmington. It's like I put advertisement out in Wilmington all the time, and I could go poll 10 people, and 9 of them would tell me they never heard of it.
Right. Yeah, it's tough to get the word out, but as time passes, more and more people are going to be familiar with it and go. I think it's the best festival of all of them that I've been to so far. I enjoy it the best. So hopefully, we can get it to where times. I know locally there's so much going on. That town. I mean, it's not huge,
No, but
but
there's
man,
something almost every
they've
weekend.
got a lot of stuff going on. It's ran well. They do a lot of activities. It's awesome. It's probably a great place to live, because there's so much activities and things for people to do there. It's seems like a pretty cool place, man.
Yeah, last year we had 5 festivals going on in that town the same day we had Farm to Bottle Festival. And
Right. Yeah.
the attendance was down a little bit, but they had a drone show out at the Roberts Center, which is like a big gun and knife show place. So it's got a big
Right.
Holiday Inn attached to it, and they had that going on out there. This drone show, and I mean that was cool. Local church had a free 2-day rodeo, free
Right.
food,
I remember the
free
rodeo. Well,
everything,
they're
and
like
then
car shows and stuff.
yeah, car
It's all.
shows. And then there was
It's crazy.
a Jeep jam, which was
Yeah.
always on a different weekend than us, but it's a big Jeep thing where they all go out and ride trails and stuff all day. That was the same weekend, same 2 days. Then they had what else did they have? The World Equestrian Center had a big Arabian show going on out
Right.
there.
Yeah.
So and there was some other
tell
little
them
small.
about you do a lot of music venue stuff, Rock the Block and some other
Yeah,
concert stuff there that you
the summer
manage. And
concert series that we
yeah.
do there all summer long.
Yep.
So
So there's a lot going on in that town, man. It's a cool place to live, man. It's cool what y'all do there. It's
it'd be a great place for
awesome.
somebody to start a moonshine
Distillery.
business, a distillery. Yeah, right there on Sugar Tree Street in the entertainment district. There's a couple buildings there. If somebody ever wanted to do it, that's the place. I mean, Jason put the tin cap cidery there, and that place has like exploded. It went from being a small room in his basement to a probably a multi-million-dollar business within 5 years.
It's as long as you could, the only limiting factor for me is how Ohio does the state run liquor thing, you know, and
well, here's the good thing about that. Depending on whether you get the A type license, that if you get the license where you want it to sit on the shelves at the liquor store, that's a long ass process. But if you don't want to sell through the liquor store and you're only concerned about selling out your door, you can get that license in about 30 days.
Oh, really? And then you can just set, because that's the way I'd want to do it. I'd want to have an eatery, you know, a place with music and dancing where I could sell my own liquor and wine and, you know, maybe beer. If I don't know, I might just have somebody, you know, bring in the kegs. But yeah, that would be, you know, my idea of you know, because really, how hard is it going to be for most craft distillers to get on the shelf and get a name out there with all the competition that there is?
It's tough in Ohio, and the problem with Ohio is, even if you
nationally, you know, even if you get with Total Wine and you get on that shelf, you know, you're just another jar amongst the giants, you know.
Right, and the problem is in Ohio, if your stuff doesn't take off like instantly and start having a lot of sales, they'll only leave you on there so many months, and if you fall below a certain amount, they just take you off the list, and then you can't sell on their shelf. You're stuck
they
with
won't
selling out your
distribute for you because they distribute. They're the distributor and everything.
Yes, they distribute everything. They actually buy it from you. So if you get, you know, a contract for 100 cases, they buy that up front. You get all your money right,
and you store it. They buy it, but you store it.
But you store it, and then you have to give it to them so much at a time.
Right. Yeah, it's different. You know, every state's different. So I do like the fact that Ohio has the ability to do the in-store personal sales. That's awesome because that would be exactly what I'd want to do. Open an eatery, a place for, you know, nightclub eatery where you can sell your own liquor on site, your own wine and liquor. Talk about profit, man. Yeah. I like.
And in an entertainment district, it would do well. But I mean, it's kind of a location thing. You could probably take it 4 blocks away and not do worth the crap.
Oh yeah, locations everywhere, everything in that.
But see, there's a farming college there, and all those kids, man. A 10 cap being a cidery, you know, that's just right up their alley, man. Those college kids come over there, and they're in that place 5 days a week. I mean, it's full every night.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds awesome, man. All right, brother. We all look forward to partying with you this weekend, having a good time.
Yep, sounds like a plan.
Gonna have to take it easy on my liver until I get there.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
I know there's going to be hangovers to be had.
Right. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I'll try to get there Thursday. I'll give you a shout when we, you know, decide if we're going to be able to make it Thursday night.
Okay.
If so, we'll show up there and maybe car camp if we do, and then put up the tent and stuff on Friday.
Sounds good.
We'll just have to play it by ear and see. But
all right.
Yeah. All right, brother. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in and checking us out and giving us the skinny on the info. We get the Yo Joe off there. It's been up there for now.
It's been up there for a bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, I didn't even notice it.
All right. Well, we'll catch you this weekend.
Yeah, we'll see you this weekend, Dan.
All right. Bye.
Later, brother. All right. Good to see old Dan. All right. That's not where. There we go. All right, so there you have it. So let me see if I've got the updated schedule. I think that was it. Yeah, so this is Saturday night. It doesn't show the times, but I'll be doing something Friday night, I guess, late, and maybe not Saturday, which is cool because I definitely want to catch Mary Cutter. But maybe I'll get a sit-in with Woody or Wayne or somebody else. If not, that's cool. But definitely look forward to meeting Woody. I've not met him yet, so that's going to be cool. And I'm going to talk to him and Wayne and see if we can get him and Wayne, Amanda, and Alan all on the show and have the Hollywood Squares and talk about yeast propagation. I think it'll be an awesome topic, and maybe we'll get to have a malting grain. So maybe we'll set up 2 different nights, or maybe we can cover it all in one. It's really tough. You know, like you said, it's tough to go over it. And I try to do it here, you know, when I'm answering questions and talking about the whole process, which, you know, doing like the step mash, it's going to take Wayne 2 hours. So I try to condense that shit into a 10-minute, you know, quick speech. And it's really tough to do. But I try not to leave too many blanks out. You know, it's hard to get everything in there. So, when you do have more time, maybe one day I'll do videos, and just put them out there for people to watch, and I can just focus on one thing without getting halfway through an explanation, handling a question that's totally unrelated, and then jumping back in and trying to remember where I was. Uh, yeah, it's good to see old Dan. It's been a while, I guess, since last year since I saw him. So, yeah, he's a good fella, good friend. Yeah, he's done a lot for the community and for the Helene victims as well, and for the kids. Dan's the one that collected a lot of money from doctors there in the area. He's an EMT, and collected a lot of money from doctors in the area. He also puts together, like you said, the summer concert series there in town, and he knows a lot of people in the music industry and good big names, and brings a lot of people there during the whole, Rock the Block and the whole summer concert series, and does a lot of that. So he collected a lot of money doing those as well. And we bought a lot of toys and stuff and had some toy drives, and ended up taking them down to Old Fort, just outside of Asheville, and distributed toys for Christmas. And I got to play Santa and hand out toys to all the children that lost their homes, and had nothing basically, and their Christmas was ruined. Their parents were living in tents that we bought, basically took there, months prior, from a summer thing that we did with the militia and with Appalachia and United Initiative. So did a lot for that community, and was nice to go back and see them at Christmas. And they remembered, and they were very thankful for the tents and for the gas heaters and all, because, FEMA did nothing for them. They absolutely did nothing, very, very little. There was no trailers hardly distributed at all. It sucks. Definitely need to do better. But they remembered all the tents. They were very grateful and thankful, and seeing all those kids come in. They of course didn't have anything. The whole town got wiped off the map pretty much, basically. Most of it's washed away. So it was very touching to see those kids and to help make their Christmas a little better, and to see old Santy. But it was sweet, all them little kids coming up and giving me a hug, and they got to pick out whatever toy they wanted. We had big stacks of toys everywhere, all new toys. Then we had used toys out front on tables. They could just pick whatever they wanted. But in there we had some really nice toys, and they could pick it. Also, the Cajun Navy was there, and they were doing a little toy drive at the same time as well. And they're like, well, damn, we didn't know y'all were doing this. So we kind of joined together, and they donated all their toys to me to hand out to the kids. So that made it twice as nice. But anyway, we're going to get off here, folks. Hope y'all can come out to Farm to Bottle this weekend and see Mary Cutter and see all the moonshiners and have a drink with us and go to the Q&A and meet everybody. And most importantly, sit around the campfires, camp. If you like to tent camp, you can bring a camper. There's lots of, hotels and stuff in the area, reasonably priced. You're not going to pay $200 for some two-rate motel with bed bugs. You get some pretty good hotel deals there. That's pretty decent sized town, farm town, and a lot of fun. So it's if you enjoy camping, especially primitive camping, you come there pretty much, and it's $50 for a campsite for a couple of days. But if you got a couple other people, you can put up 3 tents on one side, and most people that are putting up tents, they'll say, hell yeah, put your tent up, hell, we'll have a good time. Most people are pretty accommodating. So it's a lot of fun. But definitely, if you can come out and join us. It will be a great weekend, I promise. It's probably, if not the best, one of the best festivals of the year for sure. And definitely got great music. Maggie has some pretty decent music too, but I think Farm to Bottle might edge them out a little bit. Plus, the campground is right there where the fairground is, so you can walk from your camp to where the concerts are, to where the vendors are, and the food and everything's there. So you can basically just throw your keys away and just, they got restrooms and showers there and everything. So it's awesome. It's a great time. So everybody have a great week. Have a great weekend. Hopefully, we may be able to do a live, maybe Friday night on on here. So try to catch us. If not, we may be Facebook Live. It might be, we'll share it to the militia and to several of the groups and stuff if we don't get the StreamYard set up. But we'll try to get StreamYard set up, and when we do the Q&A, or maybe we'll just walk around. I'm not sure what time I'm going to be doing it, so it may be a little bit late for some of you. But yeah, look for us this weekend. If not, we'll try to do a little bit of live broadcasting on Friday, maybe Saturday for a little bit, even if I have to do it by phone. I haven't done StreamYards on my phone yet, but hopefully I can find some time, get it set up, and we can do a little bit of streaming on there. But we'll catch y'all later. Everybody have a great week. And 9:30 to 11. Okay, so Friday 9:30 to 11. We'll do the Q&A. So it's cutting in on my drinking time, but I don't have to have me a little sippy sip, man. I don't know if I can do that or not in there, but maybe I'll take me a legal jar to drink out of. I usually take a legal bottle. I don't like traveling with shine. I've got a little problem with that. I don't want to get caught interstate transiting with moonshine. So a lot of times I'll just take a legal bottle, to keep my ass out of trouble. Because I'm watched a little bit, Yeah, I might have a little swig off a legal jar. But anyway, hope you all come out and have a good time with us. If not, make plans for next year. It's a great place, great time, great people. So we will hopefully see y'all this weekend. If not, we'll be back Tuesday the 1st. Till then, peace out, shine on, love y'all. And yeah, I'll be drinking Dan's shine. That sounds good.